Welcome to Table for One. I'm the narrator, and in today's video, I'll be doing a solo playthrough of Voidfall. So in this video, I'm going to be playing the second solo map, and one for all, I'll be using House Astoran with Origin A deep space missiles. And this video is something of a walkthrough, so I'm going to give you all my thoughts as I go. Let's get rolling. Alright, so I am all set up to play a solo game of Voidfall. I am playing mission number 2 from the base game's compendium, and one for all. I am playing as House Astoran with Origin A. That means my starting tech is deep space missiles, and I am playing on easy mode today, so I've got my setup card here. The reason I'm doing that is because this is going to be something of a walkthrough where I'm going to try and give you a lot of information as I go. This is sort of aimed at newer players, so that's why I'm doing one of the earlier maps. I'm doing a level 2 complexity house that I'm playing as. They're generally 1 to 4. That may change in the Resurgence expansion, but I wanted to play one of the non-base houses, so I wanted to play one of the level 2. So I picked House Astoran, and I think people tend to struggle with Astoran a little bit because they've got this extra upkeep, and that can be kind of tricky to manage. So I just kind of wanted to walk through it and help people out. So before we do anything else, let me show you this Origin card and talk about the setup a little bit. So here's the Origin card, and so I've already done all these things. I've set my resource dials, so I've got 3 level 3 production for energy and level 1 production on my materials. So that's what this looks like here. So it's talking about, of course, the outside number. Here's the 3 energy and the 1 materials. And you'll notice that there is a +1 on this card for the materials right there. See that little plus? That is because if you look at the map here, I actually don't have any materials guilds. So this Origin card is giving me an extra materials production. And you can see that on the other side of the card here. If you're ever trying to add up your production, look, there's a plus materials. So you should have 1 more materials than you would determine by adding up all of your guilds on the map. So if we go through the rest of the Origin here, these are my starting resources. I've got 3 active fleet power, so you can see that right here. I'm playing as green, so here's my 3 active fleet power. And then I've got on my home sector, it's gold like this because I have a non-standard home sector, so you can see it right here. This is House Astorans. It's got their house sigil on it, so it's a little bit different than a standard home sector. It's got 3 population. I'm using my player colored population die, 1 engineers guild, and then my outpost sector here, you can see there's 2 population, and I've got a shipyard on it. And then I have Corvette fleet tokens in each of those sectors with 1 fleet power in my home sector, 2 fleet power in my outpost sector. So I've got 3 fleet power on the map, 3 active, and then the other 8 are here in my inactive fleet power. So that's it for my Origin card. Again, House Astoran, and I start with deep space missiles. So I'm going to take this card now and flip it over, and that's my starting agenda. So let's take a look at it. We're going to score 4 influence for each pure sector at the end of each cycle that has 1 or more shipyard, and then 1 influence for each pure engineers guild, 1 influence for each pure miners guild, and -1 influence for each corruption on my house mat. So we're going to try and keep some of that stuff in mind as we play, and let's just talk about the setup before we get going. And even before I do that, this is a good time to ask you to please like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with somebody else who might enjoy it, and don't forget you can contribute to the channel via my Ko-fi page. That's ko-fi, link in the description. Just like all these folks here on the screen, the reserve seating is for all of my monthly contributors, so thank you to all of you, and the head of the table award is for the top 10 contributors over the last 90 days. So all you folks have made my new green screen rig here possible, so thank you for that. I'll continue to make updates to the channel and continue to try and improve things via the help of my Ko-fi page. So again, thank you to everyone who has the means and desire to do that. Let's continue on here. So I know I'm going to have several interruptions today. This is a quick aside because on our way home from vacation the other day, we got our car smashed. So nobody was hurt, luckily, and we were not at fault. So we're not going to have to pay for all that. But it's a huge hassle because we only have one car. And so I've got to leave pretty soon here to go get a rental car, and I'm going to have to do a whole bunch of other stuff. So I'm going to get interrupted. This whole video I'm going to record in several parts, but hopefully it's pretty seamless on your end. But all right, let's talk about this house and this map and the text I drew and let's just look at everything going on here and try and go through the process of formulating some kind of plan. And we'll start with House of Storin. So a couple of things here. On the back of the house map, there's information on each of the origins. Read that before you slot it or before you start playing. Take a look at the back of the house map. That's good information. What it says about Origin A, starting with deep space missiles, is that you're going to want to use installations to expand and protect your sectors. You're going to want to get engineers guilds and miners guilds, and you can see we're incentivized that on the scoring. We already saw that. And we'll probably want some sort of other combat tech. This is a more military type approach generally. That doesn't mean you can't play economically, but that's what this house is set up to do. So looking at deep space missiles, if you have one or more adjacent either shipyards or star bases to a combat sector when you are the invader, then you may spend 1 energy to deal 1 approach damage. So that can make you very strong. And then when you play Prosperity Focus, you may spend a material to build a shipyard. And so with that in mind, you'll notice our outpost has a shipyard and our home sector has a shipyard. So that helps give us some room to do some invasions on some of these Voidborn sectors to do approach damage. So that's really nice. And then if we look at improved deep space missiles, well, what does the improvement do? In addition to getting 6 influence and then building another shipyard or doing a regroup action, your ability applies when you're the invader or the defender. And then for each adjacent sector with 1 or more shipyards or star bases, deal 1 approach damage without having to spend an energy now to a maximum of 2. So that's huge. Deep space missiles only applies when we're the invader. Improved deep space missiles applies when we're the defender, and it doesn't cost anything. So we want to get this quickly so that we can use our shipyards to defend ourselves, because that allows us to build more shipyards, not to have to waste building installation actions on sector defenses then. So we want to do this quickly. And so to do this quickly, we need to unlock 1 improved tech. So to do that, we have to advance any 1 track here. And so our society track, that would be 1, 2, 3 advancements. Our economy track, 1, 2, 3 advancements. But our statecraft track, assuming it's pure, 1 gives us a boost, and then 2. So we probably want to push statecraft so that we can more quickly unlock our first improved tech, and then we can gain this, and we can rely on these shipyards to do our defending. So in order for this to be effective, you want groups of at least 3 sectors that have shipyards on them that are all adjacent to each other. Those little clusters will defend each other. And I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but if you look at the first galactic event that we drew, we're going to get to advance 1 track. So before we take any turns, we can get statecraft up to here. We'll get a support agenda, and then all we have to do is advance 1 more time by either playing politics or playing reinforcement, advance that early, and then we can use our progress card to get our improved tech, by turn 2. So that's pretty cool. So what else is going on? Let's look at the tech offer. And I drew, I just shuffled all the Fallen House cards, drew 4 of them, and they had to follow the broken glass rules, but which just means there's some broken glass iconography, like you can see here on the House Cheveus card. Here you go, see the broken glass. So some of them have that effect, some don't. You must have at least 1 card with that iconography on it and at least 1 without. So I drew 4 cards and 3 of them had broken glass. And so that means it's a really aggressive tech offering. The only one that didn't was Belatan, and they've got some sort of aggressive stuff anyway. So Belatan is giving us data refinery and targeting. Targeting will improve our carriers so that we can gain extra initiative and perhaps attack first in combat when we normally wouldn't. Dreadnoughts is here, as well as decontamination chambers, hyperdrive, tactical transports, destroyers, and cloning. So we have multiple different ship types. We've got hyperdrive so we can get around more quickly. We can improve our corvettes themselves. And then there's lots of great support tech too. The tactical transports can allow us to play around with our population and fleet power, which is nice. Cloning is always very strong. That's a great way to advance your tracks as you get your population up. And then where's improved cloning? Up there. Then you can double advance your tracks and not have to pay to deactivate fleet power. Very nice. Decontamination chambers, obviously excellent for corruption management. Data refinery can be very helpful if you can improve it because then you can use credits to pay your upkeep, which you can't normally do. And each credit pays 2 upkeep. So as House of Storm, we have extra upkeep. So that could be a nice way to take care of all that upkeep without having to build a bunch of farmers guilds. And again, not to get too ahead of ourselves, but we see the Galactic event will be adding a bankers guild to a Voidborn sector. And then if we have 3 or more pure sectors, and each has at least 1 banker's guild at the end of the cycle, which is going to be 4 turns, then we can improve a tech, or we can gain a tech, either basic or improved if possible. So because improved data refinery is on the offer for cycle 2, we might want to try and get that and just rely on all those bankers guilds after the first cycle to pay our upkeep. That's not a bad route to go. So the moral here is to when you're looking at all the setup and you're thinking about your house and what you're going to do, definitely you need to take the tech offer into account. And if you're looking at your cycle 1 event, take that into account too. You've got to look at what techs, what improved techs are on offer next cycle. So if we want another ship type, for example, and we want to improve it quickly, then we're going to want to go for dreadnoughts because that's going to be in cycle 2. But I don't see improved destroyers. So if we don't mind getting an improved fleet type in the 3rd cycle and waiting a little bit, we can go the destroyers route. And then as usual, I had to pick 3 techs at random to not have the +4 influence in the basic tech, and I drew dreadnoughts, hyperdrive, and cloning, which I am very interested in all 3 of those. I love all those techs. So on the one hand, it's like kind of a bummer, like, I'm going to miss out on 4 influence gaining those techs over others. But at the same time, it can kind of be nice because they're a little bit protected now because some of the crisis cards can have a penalty where you have to consume a tech, and the Voidborn will always consume one with influence given the option. So those 3 won't be consumed unless all the +4s are gone at that point. So in some ways that can be helpful too. Now, House of Storm has 2 special focus cards, a special Conquest and a special Prosperity. So I'll put those here on screen. We can talk about these quickly. I'll start with Conquest. So invade and then build an installation is really cool because that can allow you to put, and especially in our case right now, put a shipyard down in the sector after you invade it, because you can do these effects in either order. They don't have to be in the same sector. So that can allow us to use our deep space missiles to attack a sector and then immediately defend it with more shipyards, which is nice. The middle action Conquest is to pay 1 credit and then gain 1 food for every pure sector you have, and you can move a corruption. So that allows you to move a corruption off of a sector onto your house mat to get 1 more food that way. So that's a good way to help pay for your upkeep. If you've expanded, you've gone wide, if you can just keep your sectors pure, then for the cost of 1 credit, you can get a bunch of food, and that'll help with your upkeep. And then the bottom action, you spend 1 science, and then you gain 1 credit and 1 influence for each pure sector you have with 1 or more installations. So that can be a good way to get some credits to pay for the middle action. And hopefully you can see how all these actions tie together between building installations, removing corruption, potentially from sectors, and then scoring and gaining credits for pure sectors and food for pure sectors. So that's all pretty interesting. And then for prosperity, spend 1 food and recall a fleet power to build an installation and advance on your economic track. Recall a fleet power to gain a might agenda or a wealth agenda, and then remove a non-home installation to build a guild in that same sector and remove a corruption. So those recall costs are kind of high, but House of Storm is pretty good at activating fleet power because you do that automatically when you get to the evaluation phase. But you'll notice that on Conquest, we no longer have a way to gain an agenda, so that's been moved to Prosperity. Or I guess Prosperity had one too. So we've just got 1 less way to gain agendas. So Astoran struggles with that a little bit, and Conquest no longer has the option to activate to fleet power. So these cards do some interesting things, but in some ways they are nerfs for House Astoran. And so for now, I've got to get going, but when I come back, I will talk about the heroic focus cards and the map in general, and then we'll get into cycle 1 and start playing. So here we go. All right, let's try and pick this up where I left off. I wanted to talk about heroic focus cards. And so the three that we got dealt in this first cycle are politics, reinforcement, and conquest. And that, along with the text, again, is very aggressive. So this gives us some interesting invasion options in particular, a way to get Harbinger off the map. I do like this. This conquest might be our only chance to replace our standard conquest, with this one so that we can get an agenda of any type and activate 2 fleet power. That might be nice. Especially seeing as this one has a cost of recalling a fleet power, we could play that and then reinforcement to activate another and then deploy to our shipyards. So we might want to try and go wide in this first cycle, even though there's only 4 turns. There's not a lot we can do, but we might want to try and take advantage of some of this. And then if we look at what else is going on here, so we've got 2 safe havens, a 3 slot and a 2 slot. Might as well start with the 2 slot to get an earlier reward. Well, I don't know if these are the types of actions we're going to be taking and aiming for in this playthrough. So look at the map. We've got our special home sector here. It's like a standard home sector, except it has more installation slots. So we can put down other installations, which could be helpful for us for scoring purposes. Not to mention if we put down a bunch of shipyards, we can deploy more to our home sector and get a bunch of fleet power out. It also works well with the other starting technology for a store and where you can do sentries, and that allows you to get some sentries out. I'm not going to talk too much about that because that tech is not in this video because I picked deep space missiles. But anyway, we're starting here. We're surrounded by a lot of really interesting sectors. So we've got the Fallen House down here, happened to be Cheveus. That was just a random draw, but I love both of their techs. Can't quite get in there yet because it's 2 sector defense, and I've only got 2 fleet power here in my outpost, and I don't want to abandon it. So I've really only got one free fleet power to send this way, and that's just not going to be enough to take it. Similarly, we're also adjacent our outpost to this Genesis sector, which is really nice economically. But there is a Harbinger on it, and so you want to consider the Harbingers in your overall strategy, because if you get them early on, they're going to linger on this crisis board for longer, and then you're going to have to deal with the effects for longer. So you do want to get them out of the game, but if they're going to go to the crisis board, it's better to do it later if you can. You don't want to rush into having to deal with the Harbinger here. That being said, I am playing on easy mode, so we know there's no war card in cycle 1, so I won't have to resolve the crisis board until the evaluation phase. We won't get surprised by that. Our home sector is adjacent to this void board sector, which doesn't really have much special going on, and this asteroid belt. Now, the asteroid belt is really interesting for House of Storin and with deep space missiles, because it gives us a sector the Voidborn can't take, but it does have a shipyard on it. So that pairs really nicely here. It also gives us more production of energy and materials, which is good for what we're trying to do. And it gives us a way to deploy fleet power, which is handy as well, because we can activate 2 fleet power for free during the evaluation phase, and then we can play development right away to get more fleet power out. That's pretty cool. But as we're evaluating this, we don't just want to look at the sectors that are adjacent to where we're starting. We want to kind of think about the rest of the game. So where would we go, from each of these places? And you'll notice there's some void storms here, which you could get around with advanced hyperdrive, but that's not coming out until cycle 3. But if you come around this way, you can kind of pocket this sector, which is nice if you want to build it up and hold it, because this cannot be a Voidborn sector. This is the Survivors Colony. So this can give you some food production and some instant food and an activation, so it's kind of nice to take. But you do have to get past that pre-printed sector defense. The Genesis sector obviously has a lot of benefits, but it's going to be adjacent to 3 other Voidborn sectors, so you're going to have to defend it really well. This sector here has 2 reclaim tokens and 4 glory, 4 population. That's a nice sector to have. That one up there has a reclaim and a bounty, but 5 population. But again, both of those have sector defenses. If you compare, for example, this Genesis sector with 3 fleet power versus these sectors with a sector defense and 2 fleet power, the 3 fleet power one is actually easier to take. The sector defense is going to make those more difficult. So that's going to be something to consider. These sectors are really, these 3 are identical with the exception of this one has a reclaim token, that one has a harbinger. So this is kind of the most valuable of the 3, and that's sort of the last one you would want to take. But we got to kind of figure out what kind of game do we want to play? If we want to play really economic heavy, we might take these here, get the Genesis and defend it, and then we've got these pocket sectors that the Voidborn can't get. That could be really helpful. Or if we want to play really really invasion heavy, we might want to go up to the asteroid belt, which we can take without too much trouble. If we can get one more fleet power here, we can take it, or some way to absorb that sector defense, because we can, we can take all the fleet power out of our home sector without abandoning it. So if we go up there, that could be a quick way to build an army and, utilize our deep space missiles to get out that way across the top of the map and swing around to that rift. This sector is not so great to start with, because if we go there, there's this void storm here. So it's like, where are we going from there? We're either going to the Genesis sector, which we can just get there directly, or we're going up this way, which I kind of feel like it'd be better to go through the asteroid belt. But it's possible we need this for the guild slots or the installations or for the population, depending on what it is we're trying to do. So these are some of the things that you might want to consider at the start of the game before you start taking any turns, so you sort of have some kind of game plan. And then one other thing to note before I get started, because I forgot to mention this, I've got a lot of pieces that might not match yours because I'm using all of the upgrades from Brain Bucket Games. That's a store that I co-own with some friends on Etsy. It is no way related to Mind Clash Games. It's a totally separate venture, but me and my friends have a 3D printing store. So glory tokens, bounty and reclaim tokens, I use a drawback system. The fleet tokens are all from that Etsy store, as well as these trays, all sorts of other stuff. Oh, that's what made me think of it. Guilds, installations, because we recently redid our installations. And the shipyards have this like nice gold border around it now, which matches not the shipyard, not the original cardboard ones, but the metal ones have that gold border. And so we kind of borrowed from that. It looks really nice. So if you don't have these yet, they're recently improved and I really like them. So as usual, there's a link in the description if you'd like to head over to Brain Bucket. So let's, I think, now get started with cycle 1, starting with the Galactic event. That's where the game is going to start. So we have Civilization Reborn, and you know what? I can probably blow this up for you. There we go. Civilization Reborn. 4 turns this cycle. Each player must place a Banker's Guild and a Voidborn Fleet Power on one adjacent Voidborn sector. And if we look, this is going to be our only option, because here's my sectors. This is adjacent, but Voidborn can't go there. This is adjacent, but it is a Fallen House sector, not a Voidborn sector. This is adjacent, but we can't put another Voidborn fleet power there. It's at the limit. Only one fleet token in this sector, so it can't hold any more power. So it's got to go here. That's the only place we can fulfill that condition. So we'll add our Banker's Guild and our Voidborn fleet power. Okay, so now that changes the calculus of how we were considering our map before. Because I said, like, I didn't really have a need to go to this sector, because where are you going to go from there? But if we look at these goals again, if you have 3 or more peer sectors that each have at least one Banker's Guild, you can get a tech. That I want to go for techs whenever I can get them. That's awesome. So here's a Banker's Guild. All we have to do is take the sector and purify it. We don't have to build a Banker's Guild. So if I can take that and purify it and then just build a Banker's Guild in each of these sectors, I'll have satisfied that requirement and I'll get a tech for it. That's really strong. So I'm highly motivated to do that. Then, as I said, each player may advance on a civilization track of their choice. So, as stated before, I'm trying to get to improve deep space missiles quickly, so I'm going to advance on my statecraft track. So I advance it once, it's pure, so I get the bonus, which is to advance again, and that gets me a support agenda. So I can draw from the top, or I can take this one here. If I draw from the top, I take 2, select one of them, put the other on the bottom. But I really like this one, so let me put this up on the screen. This one says that I gain 6 influence at the end of each cycle if I have 2 pure engineers guilds and 2 pure miners guilds, and that pairs really well with this starting agenda here and just what the A side of the back of this historian sheet said to do. And then if we look at the other side, each pure sector with 1 or more bankers guilds is worth 3 influence, so that pairs really well with the Galactic event. So this is definitely the card I'm going to take. I want that, so that's in hand. I replace it now with a new card, and then let's go back to this Galactic event. So I've done this, I got my reward for it. So I could go for this goal, which I think I want to. The other goal is if I have 2 or fewer empty guild spaces in all my sectors, then I may produce 2 different resource types. So to do that right now, to have 2 or fewer, I'd have to build 2 guilds. I've got 3 empty spots right now, 3 empty spaces. so I'd have to build a few more. But if I start taking other sectors, that's going to make that harder to accomplish. It means I'll have to build more guilds. So if I take this sector, for example, I would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 empty spaces. I'd have to build 4 guilds to accomplish that. I think I'm much more interested in the top goal and the pathway towards achieving it. So in 4 turns, I would like to have 3 sectors that are pure with at least 1 Banker's Guild each. And I would like to get this agenda into play, which must be played with either a Conquest or Reinforcement card, and both of those heroic cards are out, so those are options. And the actions on this card are great for me. Activate a fleet power and build an installation. That's awesome for a Storin. I want that. And I don't expect I would have two each of pure engineers guilds and miners guilds by the end of 4 turns. Like that's probably not going to happen. I've just got the 1 engineers guild now, and I'm pushing for bankers guilds. But I bet I can accomplish that later, and I can just focus on this multiplier for now, because if I can accomplish the top part of that galactic event, at a minimum, that would get me 9 influence. So that's not bad. But later, if I can accomplish this, it gets me a flat 6 influence. Plus, it would happen to get me another 4 over here at a minimum. So that would be worth 10 influence to me in future cycles. So that's nice. So let's now draw our first alert card, and it is a level 1 situation, and that is always going to be the case on easy mode in cycle 1. That's all you have. You have 6 level 1 alerts, and so that's what we're going to get each time. So now I draw a crisis card, and then, let's see, I get this one. Without Fear. This is a military crisis. Invade a sector with 1 or more sector defenses. The immediate penalty I could choose to pay at the end of the turn is to remove a trade token, sending it back to the Galactic board. So invade a sector with a sector defense. I do have 2 options adjacent to me. I could do that in the asteroid belt, or I could do that here in the Fallen House sector. Those would both count. Now, I don't anticipate doing either of those invasions in turn 1. I don't really feel like I'm set up for it, but I could see doing it in turn 2. I might take that asteroid belt in turn 2. So, okay, we've got all the info we can get now. Let's start making some kind of plan. Conquest or Reinforcement I want to play to get this agenda going. I talked about maybe playing Progress to get my improved tech once I advance this track. To advance the track, I would play probably Politics. I could also do it with my standard Reinforcement, but not the Heroic Reinforcement. That one advances your lowest track. This one advances any track, so I could do that. Temptation, what would I copy? I could advance it a track with Temptation, and I can also copy either Conquest or Development. And then Prosperity triggers Deep Space Missiles to be able to put down another shipyard. So that's interesting too. Development and Production are not really high on the list right now. So what might I do with these cards here? Well, I do like the idea of pairing this with Heroic Reinforcement, because that could let me activate 2 fleet power, put down another shipyard, and then be deploying, so I could get 1, 2, 3 fleet power down on the map. And if I put 2 here and 1 here, then I'll actually have enough fleet power to be able to invade and take this sector and invade and take that sector back to back. And that sounds pretty cool, but at the same time, this is the sector I want to take and purify for that goal. So I've got to keep that goal in mind. And of the cards I've laid out here, I'm not seeing a lot of ways to build guilds. And I would really like to get some bankers guilds down. Now, if I play Temptation, I can look at the next 2 events, advance a track, and copy from Development, which could allow me to build a guild and an installation. So that's a way to get a guild. If I can get a wealth agenda, I can pair it with Development and easily put down a couple guilds and produce, which is good. And one thing I might like to do, I might like to play Politics, use the invade action to take that asteroid belt, remove adjacent Voidborn fleet power, remove 1 from this sector, and then invade that sector with Conquest, which will allow the Heroic Conquest will allow me to purify it as well, which I'm going to need for that top objective. I might play these back to back. Take the top 2 actions here, that trade token, and advanced statecraft will get me to unlock a basic tech, get me some great benefits, invade the asteroid belt sector, make this sector easier to take, invade that sector with Heroic Conquest, purify it, use the trade token I got from politics on all three of these actions to also gain an agenda, activate some fleet power. So that sounds pretty good. And then I talked about pairing this agenda with reinforcement. I might start with that, then do politics, then do conquest, use that agenda to gain a wealth agenda and play development as my fourth card to get some guilds down and produce some stuff. The only problem then is the tech that I'd be gaining would be after doing this whole evaluation phase. And I would like the improved version before the evaluation phase so that I can use my my approach damage defensively for skirmishes. So let's see, if I do reinforcement and then politics and then conquest, how can I get some guilds down during that process? And one thing that I'm seeing is heroic reinforcement allows me to advance my lowest track. These two are tied, so I can choose. And my society track will let me build a guild. So I can throw a banker's guild down on one of these. So that would get me one guild. Then play politics. This would advance. I would get an installation, activate a fleet power, invade, None of these things will get me a guild. How can I get one more banker's guild on my fourth card? So I assume I'm going to play... These three will be gone. Reinforcement, politics, conquest. If I play progress and I gain this tech somehow, we'll assume I have enough science. I'm going to lose my science and politics, but let's assume I can somehow figure that out. I would take this tech. This would give me a shipyard or a regroup. That wouldn't get me a guild. I mean, I can get a scientist guild, but that's not what I'm looking for. And what else is going on here? Data refinery, the basic one, is really nice if I'm trying to put down all of these bankers guilds and I don't have much science. Each bankers guild adds two levels to my science production regardless of population. So data refinery is looking really good, but I wish the immediate benefit was to place a bankers guild. Then I would go for it. So how else could I get one more guild out of that fourth card? Well, it's not hard if I play like development, but I would like to get a guild and a tech. And I don't really have preferred focuses are conquest and development. My special conquest won't help me get a tech. How am I going to get technology? I want to get this before that one. For that one, I would like to take data refinery. That would be just fine. I just don't want to put off deep space missiles. And my tracks won't really help. I'm going to get to here. If I wanted to be really aggressive and change my plans, I could get to here probably, but I'm not going to get to this next tech. I don't think. Could temptation help me? Prosperity could get me one, but then I'm not getting a tech. I don't know. How do I want to try and solve this puzzle? I think what it's really going to come down to is I can get this tech in the evaluation phase after the skirmish. So unless I want to play progress, and I don't really want the other two actions that bad, I just want the tech. So it doesn't seem like a very good card to play, so I should just play something else and make the most of it. If I play development, I could pair it with a wealth agenda, like I said. That'll get a few guilds down. And assuming I have the asteroid belt at that point, then development would let me get a little bit more fleet power on the map. I just wouldn't be able to regroup it before the skirmish. That's the tricky part. And my asteroid belt's going to be safe because the Voidborn can't take it. Home sector's going to be safe. But these two would have to be really well defended because if I lost either of them in the skirmish, then I wouldn't have enough sectors for this criteria to be able to gain a tech, and that would really hurt. So let's see, if I put down 3 more fleet power, 2 here and 1 here, 4 and 2. The 2 can easily invade here. I would lose one on the way in, but then hold the sector with just 1 corvette. That's not a problem. There would only be 2 fleet power here because I'm going to remove 1. And when I invade, I could also pay 1 energy to do another damage on the way in. So that means I can, of the 4 here, send 2 in and keep 2 here and win the combat. 2 and 2 seems pretty good. I think I could defend with that. I'm just going to want to get rid of this corruption on my house mat and not have 1 or fewer cards on the military track here. That's what I need to do. And if I pair this wealth agenda with development, I can play the top and bottom action, and I can use the bottom action to remove that corruption. So, okay, I think this is doable. I think I'm going to play Heroic Reinforcement, Heroic Politics, Heroic Conquest, and then my development card. So that is it for my cycle 1 planning. Now it's time to start enacting. And hopefully I've got the resources to pay for all that stuff. We'll find out. Let's do reinforcement to take Heroic Reinforcement, and I will do the top action and the middle action, and I will pair it with this agenda. So let's do the agenda action first. I can activate a fleet power. So I've got 4 active fleet power now, and I can build an installation. And so we're just going to throw a second shipyard down right there. And then let me share this over here. My plan was take the top action and middle action, but I don't really have much use for the regroup. I don't know if moving the 4 resources around does that much. I just kind of want to advance my track, which is kind of critical to my plan here, but not strictly necessary. The middle action I definitely need, but that bottom action, I don't really want to take a corruption, but putting down a couple more installations could get even more fleet power down on the map. It would allow me to get all 5 fleet power down. And that could really make these 2 sectors a lot stronger. If I can have another fleet power in each, make it 3 and 3, I can do a lot with that. The problem would just be that corruption is then building up, and I don't like that. So I actually think I'm going to take the bottom action. I think that is going to play it a little more tight, but I think the benefits will be better. So I'm going to start with that. I'm going to take a corruption. I'll put it here on my agenda slot, this empty one. And now I'm going to take this action to build 2 installations. I'm going to throw down 2 more shipyards. Definitely one of them has to go here. Would I rather have 3 here or 3 here? I think I'd rather have 3 in this sector here. So that's pretty interesting. Now I'm going to take the middle action that costs 4 materials, and I have 2 materials. So I'm going to pay 1, 2, and then I have 3 credits. So I'm paying 2 credits. I'm down to 1 credit. That might get me into trouble. In fact, that'll definitely get me into trouble. I'm not going to be able to pay for that action, and that is a problem. And I really do want to do these cards that are going to cost me credits. Man, okay, darn it. I like that, but I had convinced myself to do it, but now I'm going to back up. I'm going to undo that action, which is totally fine. Putting pieces on the board is just part of the thinking. So let me reset those resources too now. So 2 materials and 3 credits is where I was at. So I guess I'll start with this top action instead. I need to spend 4 resources. That is still, that is still yucky though. I'm going to spend 2 materials and 2 energy. And then I gain 4 resources of any types. I'm going to take all 4 as credits. So I'm up to 7 credits. I can regroup. I'm not going to regroup any of that. And then I can advance my lowest track. And it is tempting to take one of each resource. That would be nice. But I'm going to stick to the plan, go up on society, build a guild, and I'll place it right here. So that sector has 2 populations, so my credit production goes up 2 levels. So it's on level 2, and I produce only 1 as my yield. So I chose to put it here instead of here. I do want to do both those by the end of the cycle, but in the off chance something goes off the rails and then I'm no longer able to accomplish that, at least this way I've saved myself some upkeep. So I'll delay having to set myself up to pay upkeep as long as I can. All right, now I'm going to take this action, this middle one, so that'll cost me 4 material. I have none, so I'm going to spend 4 credits. So I'm down to 3 credits again, but that is enough to pay for the other actions that I want to do later. So that allows me to activate a fleet power and then deploy to each of my shipyards. And I have 3 shipyards. So I have 1 here, and then 2 in this sector. So I'm going to need another fleet token. 2, like so. Would have been really cool though, having those 2 other shipyards and putting both of these fleet power down. That would have been nice, but just wasn't really the best move. So that is the end of my turn. So we've got to follow all these steps here. I don't have any sectors with more than 2 fleet power. I can slot this played agenda, and I will. And what else do we need to check? I didn't spend a trade token, so we don't have to put that back. So this heroic card is now out of the game, and now we have to do something about this crisis. I cannot take the immediate penalty because I do not have a trade token, so we will make it ongoing. That's fine. That was part of the plan because I'm going to take care of it this next turn. So even if I wasn't playing on easy difficulty, if I was playing on a higher difficulty and there was a potential for this next card to be a war card, the war is resolved at the end of your turn. So because I plan to get rid of this by the end of my current turn, it would be off the board before I had to resolve the war card. So just something to think about. Let's draw the next card. And we know that it's another one. And so here's what we drew. It is a general crisis card, depleting reserves. While resolving a production focus, choose to remove a bounty token from the map twice, or immediate penalty, spend 1 food, energy, and material. I don't want to spend the resources. The resources are a little bit tight, but I can definitely afford to remove bounty tokens. Oh, but I'm not planning to play production. So that will be a little tricky indeed. And I'm thinking now about my my upkeep as well at the end of the cycle. So I don't have anywhere in my plan. I was going to gain a trade token, but I planned to use it. So at the end of the cycle, I probably won't have any trade tokens. That's going to leave me with 1, 2, 3, 4, potentially 5, 6, 7, 8 upkeep, and I only have 4 food. So I might take an influence hit early on. I don't know. And I know like this is not a lot of resources, but I don't think I have that to spare either. So this might be a candidate for a catastrophe. It is not a bad idea to take a catastrophe sometime in cycle 1, even if it's something that's definitely solvable or solvable easily enough in the future, because by taking that catastrophe, I won't have to bend over backwards to try and figure this out. And then I can either remove this corruption, or I could gain 5 resources would be very nice because I'm resource strapped. That's kind of the problem. So the momentum that'll build over the course of the game will give me way more than the 20 influence it'll cost me. That's the way to think about it. So I've seen this online. Like if you've played Spirit Island, you think of Blight as a resource, think of the catastrophes as a resource, and it's more valuable early on. So I might catastrophe this, and I'm kind of okay with that. Because the other option was I could just play my standard conquest card or my special Astoran one instead of the heroic one. And that is a way that I could turn science into credits and turn credits into influence and food. But this would give me a move corruption instead of remove corruption. So I would end up with 1 more corruption that I have to deal with by the end of the game, really. But 1 more corruption that I've got to handle. I would be losing a remove corruption. Plus, I wouldn't be getting an agenda. I wouldn't be activating fleet power. So I didn't really want to have to play this. It could kind of get me out of the short-term problem if I take care of this card, but this heroic card sets me up better for the future, so I don't want to deviate. So let's go ahead and play politics to grab heroic politics. We're going to stick to this plan, and we're going to start with the top action. So that costs 2 credits. So I'm down to 1 credit and 1 science. So I'm down to 1 science. And so now I can advance my statecraft track. So I will do that. That unlocks an improved technology. Now I can activate a fleet power. Great. And I can build another installation. And you know what? I think I'm actually going to throw a sector defense down right here. I don't know that another shipyard is going to do much for me. That is going to cost me an upkeep, but it's going to protect that sector so I don't lose it. And that gives me some more options with my fleet power, I think. So that was my statecraft track action. And now I gain a trade token. And I'll go ahead and place it here. I can either grab a bounty token or 1 science. And the bounty token is pretty much always better, but I'm going to spend my last science on my next action, and I would like to spend another science when I play development. So I really want to guarantee that I'm going to have that science. So I will just take the bottom action. I will gain 1 science. So I'm up to 2 now. Then I will take this middle action. So that's going to cost me 2 energy, which is exactly how much I have. And a science. Wait a minute. Did I think about this the right way? Shoot, I think I've still shortchanged myself on this action. I'm not going to have enough energy. Man, these resources are tight, and that is a real issue for me right now. Oh, but that should be okay, because I am going to take a catastrophe, and that is going to solve that. Okay. So, all right, spend 2 energy. 1, 2, and 1 science. So I have 0 energy, 1 science. And now I can invade and I can remove a Voidborn fleet power from an adjacent sector. I'll remove the Voidborn fleet power first. I'll take it from this adjacent sector. So that'll be easier to invade now. And now I can invade. And I don't have to invade the same sector I removed it from. So I'm going to invade the asteroid belt down there. I'm going to move in both of these fleet power from my home sector. And I lose one on the way in to the sector defense, but then that's it. That's the end of combat. So this goes back to my active area. And remember, it does not go to inactive because these do not represent your actual fleets. It represents your ability to maintain your fleets over this vast space. So it's not like you need to rebuild the ships again, but just think about it that way. Don't let them represent actual ships, just your ability to manage the ships. So now that combat is over, I get the glory token. And I score my glory, so that's going to be a total of 3 influence. So you start at 10, now I'm at 13, my first influence of the game. And when you control that sector, then your energy production goes up 1 level, and your materials production goes up 1 level. All right, so the Voidborn cannot attack that sector, but from now on, when I play development, I can deploy 2 fleet power to the asteroid belt. So that was 2 actions on Heroic Politics. This goes away, and now I don't have more than 2 fleet power fleet tokens on any one sector. I don't have any agendas to slot. I did get this trade token, so I will slot it here. That'll save me on some upkeep potentially, potentially not, but then we got to take care of this crisis card, and I'm going to take a catastrophe token. And that actually makes life a lot easier for me. So these get discarded. Now I can either remove a corruption or gain 5 resources. I will gain 5 credits. So I go from 1 to 6. That makes life a lot easier. So now we go to the 3rd turn. We've got another level 1 alert card. So I draw the next crisis, and it is another general crisis. This is Tooth and Nail. After you build a pure installation, choose to also decrease the population in the same sector, or I could deactivate a fleet power. Deactivating a fleet power would not be too painful with Astoran. I've only got 5 inactive fleet power left, and if I play this, I'll activate 2 more, and then I'll activate 2 more in the evaluation phase. Like, my fleet power, I'm kind of doing okay. I can afford a deactivation, really, so I might just take the penalty on that. Oh, also, I forgot, I did this last time. I invaded a sector with 1 or more sector defenses. This should have gone away as soon as I invaded that asteroid belt. So we're in pretty decent shape. I'm going to continue. I'm going to play Conquest to take Heroic Conquest. Now, this was a sort of interesting case. I don't necessarily recommend taking all the heroic focus cards every cycle. That's not like a sustainable way to live your life. These can be kind of niche sometimes, and the costs tend to be higher, though the rewards tend to be higher as well. But that's part of the reason I'm so resource strapped this first cycle at the start of the game. Now, Storm doesn't start with a ton of resources anyway, but the fact that I used all 3 heroic cards as my first 3 cards, that did not help matters. So that's part of the reason I took that catastrophe token as well. So that is not always the way to play. Don't walk away with that interpretation. It's just, I thought it made sense right now, so that's what we're doing. And I have to decide, do I still want to take all 3 of these actions? And I definitely want to take this one. I probably want to take this one. I think I would like to have the agenda. How much do I want to deactivate or recall a fleet power to activate 2 fleet power and improve a glory token? If I am going to do that, I'd prefer to do it before I invade so I can improve the glory token and score it on the invasion. So if I don't take the trade token now, my other options are I could take it next time and do all the actions on development, or I could just hold on to it to save me 2 upkeep. Because my upkeep is currently up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'll get a 6th, and I've only got 4 food at the moment, and I'll probably spend 1. And if I slot my wealth agenda that I plan to get, that'll get me up to 8. This could get me up to 10. I could have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 upkeep by the end of this cycle, and that would not be good. And so what I think I might do is, might spend the trade token here to get an extra guild down, and I might, with that extra guild, I'll be able to put 1, 2, 3 guilds down. One of them's got to be a banker's guild there, but the other 2 could be farmers guilds. I can put them both there. I could use this action instead of removing this corruption. I can increase the pure population there to get up to 8 food production. So it's currently at 0. If I get it up to level 8 and then produce, that'll get me 5. I'm going to spend one now. So go down to 3 plus 5 would be 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Ooh, it'd still not quite have enough. But I was thinking I could play this wealth agenda because I don't really think I want to keep it. I don't think it's going to score that well, so I can then be able to replace it. But also I could play it and not slot it, so I won't have to pay the upkeep. So that'd leave me with 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. If I put both guilds there, it'd be 9. If I split the farmers guilds, I can do that. It'd be down to 8 upkeep, 3 and 5. Oh, but that'd probably be 3 and 4, 7. It would be close. It'd be close. As for these 3 actions, I think I'm 1 credit short of being able to pay for them all with credits, which means I would have to use 1 food for this one. I don't think I can get out of using that food. But I do have a bounty token on the horizon, and so that should give me at least 1 resource. As long as it's not 1 science, then I should be okay. Okay, so I've got some sort of idea of what I'm doing. I don't know if I made it clear what that idea is, but I'm going to play these 2 only on Heroic Conquest. I won't use my trade token. I will use it on development. I'm going to recall that fleet power from this sector, and I'll use it to put down another guild with just a sector defense. So that way the sector can still defend itself during the skirmish. And what am I trying to do here? Do that. I'm not going to decrease the pop. I'll just take the penalty on that. That should be fine. I've got enough fleet power. So, okay, let's do it. I'm going to start with the top action. I'm going to spend 1 food. No, I'm going to spend no food. I'm going to spend 3 credits. I go from 6, 5, 4, 3 to invade and then purify that sector. And I'm going to spend 1 more credit. So I go down to 2 in place of an energy to use deep space missiles. So combat, when you're the invader, if you have 1 or more adjacent sectors with 1 or more shipyards or star bases, but star bases are not in this particular playthrough, so I'm not going to continue to say that, you may spend 1 energy to deal 1 approach damage. So I'm invading here. I'm going to come in with 2 fleet power like this. Should I come in with 3? I think I'll come in with 2. That's fine. So I've done 1 approach damage with my deep space missiles. Now combat starts. I have the initiative 2 to 1, so I fire first and take this out and suffer no losses. Okay, cool. So now I gain this glory token, score my glory, 2, 4, 5. I'm at 13, so that gets me to 18. And now there's a bounty token here that I can resolve. So let's do that next. So again, these are just 3D printed blanks. Keep the originals, the cardboard ones in this bag, and I'll draw 1. Anything but 1 science. No, 1 science and 1 influence. That's not good. That's not good at all. That was the 1 bounty token in there I did not want to get. Shoot. So I get 1 science and 1 influence, but that's going to cost me more than 1 influence when I can't do all the things I want to do on my next turn. Jeez. So, excuse me, that was a bit of bad luck, but we'll finish up with what we're doing. I can purify that combat sector now. And now I've got another decision to make. So I can take 1 more action, but if I do this, I can no longer afford this. But I think this one's more important because the agenda allows me to build and produce. This just allows me to build. So I'm only going to be able to do the bottom 2 parts, which means I'm going to get 1 less Farmers Guild, which is not great. But if I get the Farmers Guilds down, I won't be able to produce, and that'll be a problem. So another option I might consider, which I really don't like, I probably won't do this, but I could use Temptation to copy development and build. I could still get a guild down somehow, and then I could take a I could take a corruption to activate, deploy, and produce 2 resource types. But I would never be able to produce enough for my upkeep, so that's not really helpful. Gosh, I cannot believe I drew that bounty token. That's terrible. Usually very happy to get that one, but not the case this time. Well, okay, if I can't afford that, I'll do this action. And that means if I can't afford that, I won't spend the trade token on it. So I'll only do 2 actions. So I'll only have my upkeep burden will go down by 2. So my upkeep is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I should be able to pull that off. So, okay, fine. That being the case, I'll take this other action on Heroic Conquest. It costs an energy and a credit. I don't have any energy, so here goes my last 2 credits. So my resources from top to bottom here are 4, 0, 0, 0, and 2. And so I can regroup. I don't think I'm going to do any regrouping. And I can take an agenda, and I'm going to take this top wealth agenda. I don't think it's going to be that strong for me, so I'm just, like I said, I'm going to play it and not slot it. Flip this one out. That one might be a better one to go for later. We'll see. So that is the end of Heroic Conquest. So this goes away, and then I don't have any agendas to slot, trade tokens to slot, my fleet tokens are okay, so I need to do something with this, and I'm going to take the immediate penalty. I'll deactivate a fleet power to get rid of that crisis card. And now we go to the 4th turn of this cycle, reveal the alert card. It is a level 1 alert, so now I draw a crisis card. And I do want to point out here for anyone who might not play solo sometimes, the alert card comes out at the beginning of the round, and then, so this is a 1. If this was a multiplayer game, each player would draw a level 1 crisis card on their turn. Each player would do that on their turn. And after everyone has taken a turn, there's a new alert card at the beginning of the next round. So I know a lot of people make that mistake. Let's flip this over. This is a military crisis power leak. After you build a sector defense, choose to also spend an energy. You may not use credits. Or I could put a Voidborn fleet power on an adjacent sector. I don't really have the resources for this, but the penalty's not too bad. So I'll keep going. I'm going to play development. I'll pair it with this agenda. I will not use a trade token. So I will take this middle action. I will recall a fleet power to build a guild and an installation in the same sector. Ooh, that is going to be a problem though, because I wanted to build Farmers Guild, but I want to produce food. But I need this to build the other Bankers Guild. So I'm going to produce credits, not food. So if this isn't going to produce me any food, then I don't know that I really want to build it. I would rather build something else, because my food's kind of shot at this point. So I'm going to build an Engineers Guild in this sector. Oh man, things are falling apart a little bit, but I'll be okay. Shorter cycle does make it difficult. So my energy production goes up 3 levels, so it's at level 4 right now. Is that correct? Shouldn't be. It should be at level 3. How'd that happen? I haven't produced energy. Where did I? Oh no, it should be at 4. 3 plus the 1 over there. I forgot about that one. 4, and then 5, 6, 7. Okay. So I'd produce 4 energy, but now at least I've got 2 Engineers Guilds down, which is half of what I need for this scoring agenda, and it'll score me for this one too, so that's okay. And then for my installation, I'm going to build a shipyard. Now, if there's a skirmish at the end of this turn, this is at 0. I'll take the penalty, that'll be fine, but I'll still be skirmishing at 1 because of this corruption, so I need to use this action to remove the corruption to get my skirmish down to 0 if I'm going to put a shipyard. If I want to use this to increase population, then this is going to remain, which would mean I would need to put a sector defense down to take care of that skirmish. So just kind of pointing that out. But I want the shipyard if I can get it, because that'll be better for me in the long run and it'll score better. So that's what I'm putting down. And then I'm going to take this bottom action, which costs me a science, and I definitely have a science to spare because of that bounty token that I'm still bitter about. And so I'm going to remove this corruption. And finally, I'll take the agenda action to build a guild. And so I'm putting a Bankers Guild down. It's going to go in my home sector so that I have 3 pure sectors with Bankers Guilds. And so that makes this go up. Should be at 2. I forgot to raise it before. 1, 2, 3, and then another 1, 2, 3. So it's level 8, a yield of 3. That's pretty good. And then, of course, I do produce credits. So I get 3 credits. 1, 2, 3. That is helpful. I guess if I wanted to, I could have played the trade token and still done this action. I just would have had to produce the credits like I did. This would have to come after producing credits. But no, I don't think that would have been worth it. So those are my actions. Now, I'm not going to slot this agenda. I'm just going to put it at the bottom of its deck. And I am going to take this penalty, place a Voidborn fleet power on an adjacent sector. I only have 1 valid option. That's going to be up here. I can't go to every sector, so that's fine. That takes care of these cards. And now we go to the evaluation phase. Oh, wait a minute, though. Wait. I played development. I almost forgot. That means I can deploy 2 fleet power to my asteroid belt, and I might as well do that. That's not bad to have. Don't want to forget that. So I'm on pretty strong offensive footing now. Now we go to the evaluation phase. So the first thing that's going to happen is I'm going to activate 2 fleet power. So I've got 4 active fleet power, 4 inactive fleet power, and then 6 on the map. And the first thing we do is we resolve the crisis board. So we're going to skirmish at 0. So we skirmish. I've got no modifiers from here, no other corruption on my house mat. Skirmish at 0. I win. Perfect. And then I have no ongoing economic crisis, so I don't have to pay anything either, which is very nice. So that worked out. Now it's going to be upkeep. This might be trouble, but I've got a trade token, so that's good. So I've got 1, 2 from this agenda, 3, 4 for just being House Astoran, and then 5, 6 from sectors. And so I've got 4 food, so that's going to go down to 0, and I have no energy or materials. So I am short 2 upkeep, which means that's going to cost me 6 influence. So I go from 19 down to 13. Not the end of the world. You're really trying to avoid it, but it's fine. Then we check for safe havens. I've got no pure sectors with 6 population and 3 guilds, so don't need to worry about that. Galactic event, and we do have 3 or more pure sectors with at least 1 Bankers Guild each, so I can gain a tech. If I want to do the bottom one, I need to have 2 or fewer empty guild spaces, and I have 1, 2, 3, so that one's not available. So I will gain a tech. I'm going to gain the improved version of Deep Space Missiles. So that gets me 6 influence. So I go right back up to 19. And I can build a shipyard or I can regroup. That is an interesting question. And you know what? I think I might like to regroup. I'm going to do that. I'll move 2 fleet power out of the asteroid belt into this sector. So I've bolstered that. And that, from the asteroid belt, I could only attack that sector. From here, I can still attack that sector, but also now I have the option to go this way too. So that just opened up some more possibilities. Plus, this one is never going to be the target of a skirmish, so I don't really have to worry about having any fleet power there besides 1 just to hold it. So that seemed like a good thing to do. So I'm going to slot this, and now I don't need to spend any resources to use my ability, and it works as a defender, and I can deal up to 2 approach damage, which is huge. So I can easily take this sector or this sector. I don't even have to think twice about it. So that's great. So that's it for the Galactic event. Now let's evaluate our agendas. So this first one, each pure sector where I have 1 or more shipyards is 4 influence. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's big. 16 influence. So this goes from 19 to 25 and then 35. Nice. And then 1 influence for each pure engineers guild. I have 2 of those, so I'm up to 37. 1 influence for each pure miners guilds. I don't have any of those, but I'd like to get 2 of them down. And then lose 1 influence for each corruption on my house mat. I have none. 6 influence if I have 2 engineers guilds and 2 miners guilds. That's really 2 or more. I do not meet that criteria, but then 3 influence for each pure sector with a bankers guild. 1, 2, 3. So that's 9 more influence, go from 37 to 46. So that's really not a bad score for the end of the first cycle, especially considering I couldn't pay all my upkeep. Plus it was a shorter cycle with only 4 turns. So I think that went okay. There are 2 alert cards left now. We know they're both level 1 alerts, but these stay when we build our new deck. So as we go into the preparation phase for cycle 2, I need to add 3 level 1 alerts, 2 level 2 alerts, and a random war card to these remaining 2 cards, shuffle them all up, and that will be my next alert deck. So I'm going to do all the preparation stuff, and then I will see you at the beginning of cycle 2. Here we go. All right, so I'm back. So I've got all my cards back in hand. I've got Innovation in my hand now as well. And then our heroic cards this cycle are Heroic Innovation, which is an awesome card. I almost certainly want to play it. Heroic Prosperity, which is interesting because I've got the special Prosperity, so we can compare those. And then Heroic Development, which I'm not sure if I want to be playing development or not, but we know that that can help us get more fleet power on the map, which is good. And then I'd really love to get Data Refinery. Heroic Innovation could help me do it. Back-to-back basic tech, improved tech. As long as I unlock another improved tech, I can do Data Refinery. That would be very useful for me. Let's see what the Galactic event is, and we'll just flip it over here. So we have Dark Ages, 5 5 turns this cycle. We're going to put 1 Reclaim token and 1 Voidborn Fleet Power on 1 adjacent Voidborn sector. But if we look at the map, I actually don't have a Voidborn sector adjacent to me that can hold any more Voidborn Fleet Power. So that action is just going to fail. The next one is we're going to put a Corruption 1 time on the Might Agenda offer. So we just put that right here. And what's next? We have spend up to 6 science to gain the same amount of credits. And I have 1 science and 3 credits. I think I'm just going to leave it where it's at. So then at the end of the cycle, if we have 8 or more upkeep and it's satisfied, we can gain an agenda. That should be doable for us. Otherwise, if we have 8 or more pure installations, we can gain 8 influence. I'd rather be getting stuff than influence in cycle 2. But we should be able to do either of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I mean, I've already got 8 upkeep. I just need to satisfy it this time. And Data Refinery could certainly help me do it. And so let's look around here. I've got this trade token. I would love to use that on Heroic Innovation to get a basic tech, produce credits, produce science, and that goes really well with Data Refinery, which would give me more science production. Then get an improved tech, get improved Data Refinery, which would help me with my upkeep, and remove an adjacent Voidborn Fleet Power. Sure, why not? And then at the bottom, spend 2 resources to gain an agenda, huge, and remove a crisis. Any crisis, like very powerful. So I would love to get that. But in order to pull all that off, I need to unlock another tech, which means I got to do some track advancing first. So that's going to mean either advance society twice, statecraft twice, or economy 3 times. And that's kind of a tall order. What I could do is if I got a might agenda, which is of course corrupted now, I could play it with prosperity, advance my lowest track, which would be econ, and then advance econ again. And then I would only need 1 more track advancement to get that way up here, which would get me another agenda in addition to unlocking a tech. That could be strong. It just takes the most work compared to these other 2 routes, but it leaves me in a better place, I think. So I wouldn't mind doing that. And then if I did that, I probably would not need another might agenda, but I could grab another might agenda and play progress, but I really only want progress for the tech. I could put down a scientist guild. It wouldn't like be the end of the world, but I don't really need it. If I'm putting down guilds, I'd rather be putting down miners guilds for scoring. If I don't go this route, certainly wouldn't hurt to play production to get me some energy. I don't have the other guild types though, but getting some energy at least would be good. And advance on this track, I can increase a population. If I was going to push this track, though, I'd want to get cloning so that I can get credits for increasing my population each time. What other options do I have for track advancement? None up here. This is just heroic prosperity. It's not going to do anything different than my regular prosperity in terms of advancing tracks. Well, that's got some good stuff going on. Like and that lets me get any agenda for free instead of a might or a wealth by recalling a fleet power. I might prefer to do heroic prosperity with a trade token if I can pull that off. And I could, because if I do that first, I use this trade token and then it gets me another trade token. And I do like that a lot. So then I can use that new trade token on heroic innovation. But in between these 2, that's going to cause me to lose a guild. I'd like to put the guild back down, whatever it is. And, I can see a case to be made for taking, if I'm starting to play around with guilds and my economy's hurting, I can see a lot of good reasons to take this Genesis sector. It would not be hard for me to take it. And then maybe over the course of the game, I take this Fallen House sector and perhaps this Survivors Colony sector and just like own this back part of the map and build it up. And like everything back here is going to be really well defended. And I might be able to do well with that. But even if I just take the 4 sectors I have plus the Genesis, that's like, that could be really helpful. Instead of messing around with guilds on these sectors, put them here so I can build it up, maybe complete some safe havens. Because I can kind of see doing heroic, I don't want to play all 3 heroic cards again, but heroic prosperity, gain a wealth agenda, pair it with heroic development, take these 2 actions, I can get 3 guilds down in 1 turn, plus a production. And if I do that here, that could easily be a 6-pop sector. And with this, I can even put a bankers guild there to make it a 6-pop sector. I could do like a bankers guild and 2 miners guilds. And then as long as I get improved data refinery, I'm in really good shape. So I can do this with all 3 actions, do these 2 with a wealth agenda, do this with all 3 actions, and it's just a matter of, can I take this before I do any of that? Oh, and then I've still got another turn. Wow, it's nice having 5 turns in a cycle. So I could play my Conquest card, my Historian Conquest card. I could spend a science to gain a bunch of credits. I would gain 1, 2, 3, 4 credits would be good. And then I can invade, and after all that's done, I'd be left with 4 credits. And then I could go here, turn 2 credits into 4. Oh, but I've got to remember, I want this. Ooh, I want prosperity to advance this. And I need to do that with a might agenda. I need to gain an agenda. I need to gain some agendas. Because I need to unlock one more improved tech before I play Heroic Innovation. So I could start with Conquest, then Prosperity, then Development, like this. But I would need to get an agenda to pair with this. Say Innovations at the end. Yeah, this is just not advancing enough tracks. So even if I did get a might agenda, pair it with Prosperity, double advance this on Prosperity, it still needs to advance again. Development's not going to do that. Innovation's not going to do it. Temptation can do it, and I probably should play Temptation. So that can copy Conquest. So that might be something I do. I might play Temptation, but I would want to do it. I'd want to do it after Prosperity. So this will advance, and if assuming I somehow get an agenda before that, how can I get an agenda? I can, because Conquest doesn't do it for me. I have a lack of options. Innovation will do it, but that is the one card I can't use to get an agenda. Man, how am I going to do this? Yuck. My only way to gain any agenda I want is through innovation. And I can get a might or wealth agenda through innovation or prosperity, but I want to play it with prosperity. So yeah, that only leaves innovation. Oof, I am in a sticky spot. I do have, so what I could do, I could put temptation and reinforcement together. They both have advance any track. I could double up on statecraft. That would get me an extra basic tech. This would make me take a corruption, but I could take it like here, advance this, remove that same corruption, because I don't have any corruption right now. So if I take one, that'll be the one that I want to remove. I can pick my event for the next cycle, and then maybe I copy Conquest to do my invade of the Genesis sector and put an installation down in that sector. So I could start with Temptation. Then I could play Reinforcement, which would have me deactivate 1 fleet power, which I won't really want to do, but then I could make this go up again. I could gain a basic tech. Not exactly sure what I would take. Might be good to do hyperdrive just for the 3 bounty tokens, really. Tactical transports is a really interesting pairing with a Storin. Although if I did destroyers, then I can do muster and I could spit out a bunch of destroyers, which would be kind of neat. So in lieu of something else obvious, that seems kind of neat. We could do that and deploy a bunch. That would get me an unlocked tech. It would cost me more resources than I have though. This would cost me 3. This wouldn't cost anything. That'd be fine. That would be fine. But then I wouldn't be able to afford this. So yeah, in all seriousness, for this one, when I take this tech, I might take hyperdrive over destroyers just so I can get the 3 bounty tokens. Well, I guess my other option is I could take data refinery, and that would just give me 2 credits and 2 science right away, and I can come back and get another tech later. So if I take data refinery, I can afford this, deploy whatever fleet power I've got at that point. So go up twice. This would make that go down 1. Am I missing anything? So I'd have 3 to deploy. So I'd probably put 1 there, 2 here. Oh, but I would have already invaded this sector by then. So I'd probably put some down there and there, like on my front lines. I wouldn't need any extra there. So okay, that sounds good for first 2 actions. That improves a tech, gets me another tech. Then I would have 3 turns left, and I'd want to, I guess, do these 3. I could still do these 3 here. So trade token on prosperity, 2 actions on development, and then trade token on innovation at the end. And that would give me an agenda card going into cycle 3. So that seems like a plan, sort of. I've talked myself into it. It's a plan of sorts. All right, so let's reveal the first alert card now. And it is a level 1, so we'll grab another level 1 crisis. I'll take a look at it. It is an economic crisis. Price of greatness. After you take the action on an agenda card, choose to also spend 1 resource of any type. The immediate penalty is I can recall a fleet power, or I can add a Voidborn fleet power to each rift sector. There's only 1 rift sector, and I don't know that my plans involve taking it, but I know I don't want an ongoing economic crisis and then I get caught with a war card, because I just do not have the resources. Doing a lot better militarily than economically, and I'm looking to remedy that a bit with that Genesis sector. That should really help. But I don't want to really spend that resource. I don't have agenda cards. Okay, we'll figure it out. We're going to start with temptation. And let's begin with the middle action. So that's going to have a cost of gaining 1 corruption. So I'll put that right here. And then I get to advance any track. I'll advance statecraft, and I can remove a corruption. And then I can look now at the top 2 cards from the Galactic event deck for next cycle. Choose 1 to keep on top and put the other one on the bottom. So let's look at the 2 events. Okay, there we go. So we can have either 6 turns or 5 turns in the next cycle. Corrupt 2 agenda slots on the last stand. Put a 3 glory token on a Voidborn or Fallen House sector. I could put on the Fallen House sector, would be nice. And then deploy a fleet power and build a guild. Score a pure non-starting agenda, or gain 3 influence for each corruption on your house mat. Interesting. So that's with 6 turns. I don't like taking 2 corruption, but the rest sounds okay. And if I put a 3 glory token on the Fallen House sector, maybe I take that in cycle 3, it'll have 4 glory on it. That'll be a big score. Wind of Annihilation, 1 less turn, corrupt 1 agenda slot if able, or take 1 corruption on house mat if able, otherwise take a corruption anyway. So I'm taking corruption on my house mat one way or another. At the end of each player's first turn, they must resolve a skirmish with +1 Voidborn fleet power. That doesn't worry me. Ooh, wow, look at that. Either advance a track and gain a pure population, increase the pure population, or deploy 3 fleet power. Man, I would love to move up a track and move up with a population. So if I take Wind of Annihilation, I like that action a lot more, and I would gain 1 less corruption. So -1 corruption, advance on a track, improve a population to have 1 fewer turn. That's probably better stuff than I can do in a single turn. I don't know. And then you score for your high population sectors, or you can score 5 influence for each pure sector beyond the first 4. So that encourages going wide. And I have 4 pure sectors now. So every pure sector after this would be 5 influence. So that's an interesting choice. I think I'm actually going to go Wind of Annihilation, 5 turns. That's pretty cool. Okay, so I've taken this action on Temptation. Now I'm going to take the top action to copy a preferred focus, and I'm going to copy from Conquest this action here. So that costs 3 energy. I have no energy, but I've got 3 credits. Or at least I did till a second ago. Now I have no credits. I can invade and I can build an installation. So let's invade first. I'm going to invade the Genesis sector, and I'm going to use deep space missiles. I'm an invader for each adjacent sector with 1 or more shipyards. There's 1 and there's 1. So I've got 2. Deal 1 approach damage to a maximum of 2. So 2 approach damage. That's just massive. Look at that. And so now I can continue with the invasion part. So let's put a fleet token here. I'm going to move 1 from here, and I'm going to move 2 from here. I feel comfortable doing that. So I come with 3 fleet power. So the initiative's 3-1. I fire, and combat is over. There we go. So I've got some stuff to deal with. Let's start with glory. 2, 4, 6, 7 glory for me. 1, 2, 3, 4 gets me to 50, 5, 6, 7, 53 influence right now. There is a bounty token. Let's hope this goes better than last time. If it just said 15 credits, that'd be great. This is 1 food and 1 material, and I don't think I'm in any position to say no. Let's take 1 food and 1 material. I'm not ready to Just take the influence on that. We'll get rid of this blank token. And now I've got to deal with this Harbinger. And I am going to put this on my military track. I am better equipped for military than economy. And when you take over the Genesis sector, you may move a corruption. I'm going to move the corruption from the Genesis sector to my house mat. Do I want it on this agenda slot? I think I might. I think that's where I'm going to put it. So I really want pure sectors. I feel okay with skirmishes. What I might do though, when I gain this tech, I talked about hyperdrive. Oh, I talked about data refinery too. I do need data refinery, but I might grab decontamination chambers just to help me deal with corruption. That wouldn't be such a bad thing. So the invasion portion is done. I can also build an installation, and I'm going to put a shipyard down here in this Genesis sector. So that'll help it to protect the sectors around it using deep space missiles, and I can deploy there to put more fleet power, which is a good thing. And it could help me advance outward, because I do see potentially taking this sector. It's got 2 reclaim tokens, 4 population. That could score really well on Winds of Annihilation next cycle if I can bump the population up. It's easier to get there than to the 5 pop one up there, even though I'd like it. So I could see going here. And once I'm here, it's like you might as well take the Rift. You know what, though, I'm thinking about it with that invasion. I'm only going to invade with that. I'm going to bring 1 from each of these sectors, not 2 from there. Because I'm looking, if I draw a war card, and I don't think any of the easy war cards would do this to me. But if I have to skirmish at +1 Voidborn fleet power, right now that would be 1, 2, 3. And well, I guess I've still got the defenses from deep space missiles. I would take 2 out. Oh yeah, but I don't want it to be 1-to-1, so feel better with that. Okay, so I'm done copying this action off of Conquest, and I've taken my 2 actions off Temptation. So what do I want to do with this Crisis? I don't really want it to be ongoing, and this is sort of an aside, but I was looking at agendas here, and it's hard for me to get agendas. So the ones that I take, I do want to make sure I can use them, and I do really like this one. Have 3 sector defenses. I've got 1 and 2, so I can easily get a 3rd. I can even get that pre-printed one, but I can put 1 down there or 1 down there. That wouldn't be the end of the world. So that'd be an easy way to score 5. And then 2 influence for every pure fleet power on the map. And I've got 2, 4, 6 right now. That's 12 influence. I could definitely get more down on the map. That'd be a really good one to score. I would like to grab that and get that down like the start of cycle 3, I guess. And then I'm not sure what I would do between wealth. Well, I'll probably take a wealth. I'll probably take a wealth this time. I don't want that one. I think I'll grab 2 from here. Although if I can grab that 4 token, if I can improve it once, then I'll score. I'll have the 5er, and I'll have at least 2 improved technologies. That's not great, though. I'll probably take 2 from here, slot 1, use innovation to grab this at the end of the cycle, probably grab decontamination chambers so I can deal with that corruption. So anyway, got way sidetracked, but I need to deal with this, and I'm going to take this penalty of just adding 1 Voidborn fleet power to the Rift. I don't think that's too bad. I may or may not go for that Rift, but I'm doing okay again, military-wise. I could still get destroyers before I take out a Rift too. So these can go away, and we go to our second turn of the cycle. We draw an alert card. Whoopsie, it is another level 1. All right. So here's our crisis card, military crisis. After you spend a trade token, choose to also add a Voidborn fleet power to each open Rift, or you can skirmish, and if you defend, gain a bounty token. I would love to skirmish and gain a bounty token. Cool. All right. So next up, I am playing Reinforcement. That's what I decided. And I'm going to take the top action and the middle action. So let's start with the top action. Deactivate a fleet power to advance on any track. And I'm going to advance on statecraft. I can gain a tech. I've unlocked another improved tech, but I have no basic techs to improve. So I've got to take a basic tech. And I have to take data refinery to ensure that I could afford the other action on this turn, which is a rough place to be. Okay, so gain 2 credits. So I go from 0 to 2, and 2 science. I go from 1 to 3, and gain 4 influence. So I go from 53 to 57. And from now on, each of your bankers guilds adds 2 production levels to your science production regardless of population. So I've got 1, 2, 3 bankers guilds. So this goes up to 6 now, level 6. So 4 science production. That is pretty handy. So that was the top part of the action. Now I can build a sector defense. So I'm going to place a sector defense probably here. I think I'm going to care more about this sector than this one, but I do want to defend them both. And now I will take the middle action. Cost 2 materials. I've got 1 material and 1 credit. I'm down to 1 credit now. And I can deploy a fleet power to each shipyard. So I've got 3 active fleet power. I'm going to put 1 here and 1 there. Where do I want this last one to go? Probably the asteroid belt. That's more like closer to the front lines, I think. Although, no, I'll put it here because I might use it later to take this fallen house. And it can be regrouped into either of these sectors, which is where I'd probably want them. So that's where I'll put the third one. All right, so that was both of these actions. Now I'm going to take the immediate penalty on the crisis. I'm going to skirmish. So I skirmish at 1 plus 1 is 2. If 2 Voidborn come in here, they're going to lose 1 to the sector defense and 1 to an adjacent shipyard, and then there's no more. If 2 come in here, I've got 2 sectors, adjacent sectors with shipyards, so they're both going to get blown out of the sky. No other sectors are valid targets. So I win the skirmish. That gains me a bounty token. So give me another one of those, please. We get, what is this? 1 resource of any type. Eesh. Okay, so I'll take 1 credit. Take 1 credit if I gotta take something. Resources are so tight this game. I've got 1 food, no energy, no materials, 2 credits, and 3 science. Boy. But that was it for that turn. Let's draw the next alert card for turn 3. Another level 1 alert, okay. Surely I'm running out of those by now. The crisis is an economic crisis. After you build a scientist guild, choose to also recall a fleet power from the same sector, or you can add a Voidborn fleet power to every rift sector. Man, rifts are getting piled on. And I'm going to play Prosperity to take Heroic Prosperity. And I will flip a trade token as well. So I can take all 3 actions. I am going to start with, man, I don't know. Trying to figure out what I'm going to do for that guild. Might as well start at the top action. Spend 2 resources of any type. I think I'm going to spend, let's see, what am I going to need here? I'm going to spend 2 of any type. I'm going to spend 1 science and 1 credit. And then you can gain 4 resources of any type. So I'm going to gain 4, and they're all going to be credits. So I'm up to 5 credits. And I could advance my economic track. That goes up here. And I gain 1 of each resource. So I'm up to 2 food, 1 energy, 1 material, 6 credits, and 3 science. That's okay, but I was much more interested in advancing that track when I was getting another guild out of it too. Well, that's all right. So that was this action. I'm going to take the bottom action next. No cost, and either gain an agenda or build an installation. I will gain an agenda. It'll be a wealth agenda, and it won't be the top one. So let's flip these 2, and I get technological singularity or intellectual supremacy. These both reward techs, but intellectual supremacy has a greater emphasis on rewarding techs, where technological singularity has a greater emphasis on rewarding pairs of pure sectors. And I think I'm going to have an easier time going wide than getting a bunch of techs. So I'll take technological singularity. So that goes into my hand. Intellectual supremacy goes to the bottom of the deck. Okay. Now, the third action, I've got to remove a non-home guild at that. I'd rather remove a home guild because that would cut down on my upkeep, but remove a non-home guild. So, if I remove the Bankers Guild, that'll cost me 3 influence. Let's look at it just in terms of influence, not production or anything. That'll cost me 3 influence. If I remove the Engineers Guild, I won't be able to accomplish this, which will cost me 6 plus 1, 7. But I will be producing science and credits later, which both benefit from having a Bankers Guild down. And I would like to put, I think, a Bankers Guild in the Genesis sector to score it. And the population's going to be higher here. Yeah, I'm gonna get rid of the. I'll get rid of the Bankers Guild from this sector. Um, no. I'll get rid of the Bankers Guild from this sector. It has less of an effect because the population is lower. So I'm getting rid of that non-home guild. So this production goes down too, and my science production goes down too because of data refinery. So I'm spending this guild, but now I can gain a trade token, which I will. And as my trade token reward, I am going to gain 2 credits. Or actually, you know what? I'm actually going to gain, I'm going to take the different reward. I'm going to gain material and an energy. Believe it or not, I think that'll be better for me because pretty soon I'm gonna get a Bankers Guild down here. That populations go up to 6. I'm gonna produce, so I'll have plenty of credits next turn. So I don't need to take credits right now. Um, so that's my trade token. And then I can also remove a Harbinger. So I could get rid of this one, or I could get rid of one off the map. So getting rid of this one makes my life easier. Getting one off the map denies the Voidborn 10 influence at the end of the game. I'm already talking about coming this way to go to the Rift. I could pretty easily still take that sector. So this is the one I'm least likely to take. So that is the 10 influence I most want to remove from the Voidborn. So it's really a question of this one or that one. I'm going to take the one off the board. I think I'm in an okay position for that. So that was now all 3 of these actions. So my trade token, my spent one, needs to go back to the Galactic board. My earned trade token needs to be slotted. And this heroic card goes away. And finally, I've got to decide what to do with this. I really don't want to make that ongoing. I don't really want to take a catastrophe because I've had so many level 1 crises. I'm certainly going to have some level 2s or war cards next. So I might want to save that catastrophe. So I guess I'm just going to throw another Voidborn Fleet Power on the Rift. Although what I could do is I could throw this on the crisis board and plan to get rid of it here. I just can't get rid of something else that way. And if I hit a war card, I'm going to have to pay the resources. But yeah, maybe making it ongoing is the way to go. Okay, I think that's the first ongoing crisis of the game, so that's not too bad. What am I at? I've played 3 cards so far. I've got 2 to go. I'm at a point where I need to take another break, so I'm going to pause it here, and I will be back later, and we'll keep going. So I'll see you then. Okay, I am back. I thought I'd be gone a few hours. It's been 3 days. That is not an optimal amount of time between turns, but I kind of sort of remember what I was doing. I don't, man, I made some choices that I'm going to kind of live with now. I kind of wish that when I gained this agenda, I had gained a dominance agenda instead, because then I could play innovation and use that action to gain a wealth agenda and play development afterwards. And that would just give me more options when I played this, because the dominance agenda would allow me to invade, and I can very easily take this sector up there. I've been thinking in the last few days, like I haven't played this nearly aggressively enough. Like I should have grabbed, or I should in a minute grab destroyers, and it would have been nice if I could have planned a little bit better where I grabbed destroyers before playing development so that I can use development to deploy destroyers to that asteroid belt, and then my improved deep space missiles plus some basic destroyers could just wreck some stuff. And I should not do what I was talking about before and kind of trying to take these 2 sectors and maybe turtle up here and control this half of the map. I really should be aggressively just trying to push out the other Voidborn sectors, not worry about these 2, potentially abandon this one if I don't need it anymore because the Voidborn can't take it. And I can probably grab this whole map. I think it's a little late for me to pursue that now. I'm going to keep going with the plan that I had, but I tend to be a little bit more economic minded when I play this game as opposed to very aggressive invasion. But just thought I'd share some of those thoughts. And so the next thing I need to do is I need to reveal the next alert card. It's another one, okay? It's got to be near the last one. We have a general crisis. This is attrition of war. After you gain a trade token, choose to also spend 1 credit, or you could remove 1 non-home guild. I really don't want to remove a guild, because my guilds have been very purposely built for scoring the agendas that I have. And I don't have a lot of extras, and that's why I'm playing development this time. I'll be playing my standard development card in order to take Heroic Development, and I will pair it with this agenda. And so the first thing I'm going to do is this top action here. I'm going to spend 2 materials, which I have exactly 2 materials. I think I gained that last time for just that purpose. And now I can build a guild and I can increase the peer population in that sector. So I'm going to build a miners guild here in this Genesis sector. And so because it's a Genesis sector and it's pure, this allows me to raise the population by 1, so it goes up to 4. And now this effect allows me to raise the population in this sector, so it goes up to 5. And so that miners guild I start, let's see, I've got 1 from my starting agenda. My origin card gave me 1 level of production for materials, and I get 1 from having that asteroid belt. So I'm at 2. Now I add 5 to the level, so this is at level 7. Yield of 4, that's good. And now I'm going to take this middle action, spend any 3 resources. I have 6 credits, so I'm going to spend 3 of those. I go down to 3. And then I can place a guild and gain any 4 resources. I'm going to gain 4 credits. So I really just netted 1 credit. I'm at 7 credits. I'm going to build a guild, and it's going to be another miners guild in this Genesis sector, which is going to increase the population to 6. So now I need to adjust my levels here. So this goes to 8. For this one, that goes up 1, and then this one needs to go up 6 more. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and that's it. So I'm at maximum production now for materials, which is nice. And finally, I'm going to take my agenda action. I'm going to build a guild and produce that resource type, and I'm going to build a bankers guild here in the Genesis sector. So my credit level goes up by 6. It's already at 6. I've got 3 here and 3 here. So now it goes up to 12, so that's almost maxed. I produce 6 credits, so I'm at 7. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 credits. That is very nice to have. And so what I've done now is I've got 3 peer sectors with bankers guilds, so that's going to score this agenda decently here. But now I have 2 engineers guilds and 2 miners guilds, so I'll get 6 influence for that at the end of each cycle, and then I've got multipliers over here for each peer bankers and miners guild as well. So engineers and miners guilds as well. So these 4 basic guild types to me are now worth 10 influence at the end of each cycle. And then if I'm going to continue placing guilds, I want to get 1 bankers guild in each peer sector. So I'd like to get 1 back here again. And then as I spread out wherever else I go, I want peer sectors with a bankers guild. I'll get 3 influence for each of those. So heroic development now goes away. And unfortunately, while playing development this time, I did not have any active fleet power. So I wasn't able to use the asteroid belt's ability to deploy up to 2 fleet power to the asteroid belt when you play development. That was a waste, and that's kind of sad. But I'm going to slot this agenda. It's not going to score very well this time. I think I'm going to get 10 influence for it this cycle, but I should easily be able to get that up to 19 by the end of the next cycle. I'm just going to be a little shy on a couple things. What am I going to do about this? I don't really want to get rid of a guild because, again, my scoring prospects are pretty good, and I definitely want to keep this sector how it is because at the end of cycle 2 and then 3, that'll complete this safe haven. And assuming I use the bonus to get a Harbinger off the map, that'll net me 30 influence against the Voidborn. And I probably won't complete this safe haven. I think there's a decent chance I'll get Statecraft up to level 4, but neither of the other 2 tracks. I'll probably do a double over production, but I think I'll likely be a block short. So, okay. In any event, we need to figure out what to do with this crisis card. Now, I don't want to get rid of a guild. I've established that. I can definitely afford the credit, spending the credit when I gain a trade token. I'm just not planning on gaining a trade token anytime soon. So again, that's going to sit out on the crisis board for a while. But I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make it ongoing. I'm going to put it, I'm going to put it on the floor, I guess. No, I'm going to put it here on the economic track. I think I'll get to that early in cycle 3. And so now we reveal the last alert card for the cycle. It's another 1. How many 1s are in this deck? My goodness. We'll take a look at that in a second. How many cards are left here? There's 3 cards. It's just so happens there's 3 cards left. So it's going to be the 2 level 2s and the 1 war card. Those will be back in the next cycle, but let's see what we get. It is a general crisis, cleansing fire, either remove a corruption from a civilization track or move a corruption off of a civilization track. Otherwise, gain a corruption is the immediate penalty. Of all the level 1 crisis cards, I really don't like this one because I rarely have a corruption on my tracks, and because I always find that icon here confusing. You cannot resolve the card by moving a corruption to a track. You've got to be moving it from. But I always second guess myself on that one. And so for my final card this cycle, I will play Innovation to take Heroic Innovation. You pretty much always want to take Heroic Innovation when that comes out. And I will be flipping a trade token to take all 3 actions. And so I'm going to start with the top action. I need to spend 4 resources. I'm going to spend 3 credits. So I go from 13 down to 10, and I'll spend 1 science. And now I can gain a basic tech of any type, and I can produce credits in science. I'm going to produce first. So I produce 3 science. I go from 2 to 5. I produce 6 credits. I have 10. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and then I overproduce. So that is going to get me some influence. So 1 overproduction is 3 influence. I go from 57 to 60. All right, and now I can gain any 1 basic tech. I know I had talked about hyperdrive. And there's good reasons to get hyperdrive. I would like the bounty tokens. Decontamination chambers makes some sense as well. Ooh, but I do have to back up. I forgot I have data refinery. So when I placed that Bankers Guild, that should make my science production go up 2 more times, which means I would have produced, instead of 3 science, 4 science. I get 1 more science. Okay, so I'm at 6. So I don't know. I've got a lot of choices. I'm really looking at destroyers now. Targeting could be helpful as well. Tactical transports is really interesting with Astoran in particular because it triggers on Prosperity and Conquest, and those are my 2 special focus cards. But I guess I have no active fleet power right now, so I'm going to hold off on destroyers. I'm going to go hyperdrive, and we'll see what that does. But because I don't have any active fleet power, I think I'm more interested in the regroup before invading. That's more helpful than being able to deploy destroyers but not having anything to deploy. I might be able to use this and then grab destroyers later, like do some combats, lose fleet power in the combats, they become active, grab destroyers, now I can deploy them. So I'm going to take hyperdrive. No influence on this one, but I do gain 3 bounty tokens. I'll get the draw bag here, and we get 1, 2, and 3. So what's this going to get us? 2 materials, a food and an energy, a food and a science. Or I could turn in any of those for 1 influence each. I'm going to take all the resources. I'm going to take 2 materials, a food, an energy, a food, and a science. I am in real good shape now. So my stockpiles are 4, 3, 2, 15, and 7. So hopefully that'll fuel a bunch of invasions in cycle 3. Okay, so slot that tech. I've got 3 technologies now. That's this first action. I'm going to take the second action next, gain an improved tech, and remove a Voidborn fleet power from an adjacent sector. And I'm going to remove one of these here. It'll make it easier to take that sector. If I want to take this adjacent Voidborn sector, I can do that pretty easily by just moving in these 2 fleet power to here, because I've got these 2 adjacent shipyards that'll each do an approach damage. So I have no difficulty taking that one. This one's a little trickier because of that sector defense, so I'm going to make the equation a little bit better this way. Because this sector has only 1 of my adjacent sectors with a shipyard, so I could do 1 approach damage, take out that fleet power. I would still have to send 2 fleet power in, lose 1 to the sector defense, and the last one would be the only fleet power there when the combat is over. So I've removed an adjacent Voidborn fleet power. Now let's gain an improved technology, and that will be data refinery. So I'm going to put all those credits to use. So I gain 6 influence right away. So I go from 60 to 66. And I didn't even look at this. I could build a guild, build an installation, and produce something. That's awesome. For the guild, I'm going to do a Bankers Guild in this sector. That will score pretty well. So this level can't go up anymore. Oh, yes, it can, and go up 1 more time. But also with Data Refinery, my science level goes up twice. Okay, maybe I should have done that before I did this. Does that affect anything if I were to backtrack that? I don't think so. Well, I did gain a science there. Yeah, I'm not going to mess with it. But then I also get to place an installation and produce something. And so for the installation, let's put a sector defense here. I don't know that I really need it. I don't know that another shipyard's going to do anything for me. Like, I'm not scoring per shipyard. I'm scoring per pure sector with a shipyard, and all my sectors are pure and have shipyards already. So I don't know if I'm going to get that much out of another shipyard there, especially now that I have hyperdrive. Like, if I've got fleet power in the back, I can regroup them pretty easily. So I'm just going to add another sector defense. The sector's that much better protected now, and I've got my eye on this agenda here, and that includes having 3 sector defenses, which I already did, but it gives me some wiggle room. Like, I could abandon the asteroid belt and still have 3 sector defenses that are pure in my other sectors for scoring this one, because I definitely want to grab it. So that was this, and I can produce something. Oh, and you know what? I will produce materials, because I produce 15 of those, and I already have 2. So that is going to overproduce. All right, so I'm at 15 materials. I've overproduced, and for the second time in one focus. So I go from 66 to 69 influence, and I can build 1 level of safe haven. That is nice. Maybe I will finish both these safe havens. What do you know? And now I slot this improved tech. So I've got 2 improved technologies. That's nice. I've still got my eye on destroyers for later. And I did flip this trade token, so I can take the bottom action as well. I'm going to spend any 2 resources. How about materials, since I've got so many of those? And man, since I've got so many materials, I mean, I could afford dreadnoughts then too, but I think destroyers are more in line with what I'm trying to do. But I spent my 2 resources, and I can gain an agenda of any type, and I can discard any crisis. And this one I intend to solve. This one I might just take a catastrophe token, honestly. And so if I do catastrophe this, then I'll just remove this one. If I don't want to take the catastrophe token, then I would just use this effect to get rid of the current crisis. I'm not worried about these economic costs on the crisis board anymore. I've got that handled at this point for really the rest of the game. So the catastrophe token I'm really playing just because if I don't want to deal with this. If I don't take the token, it's just going to be ongoing. So one way or another, I will have 2 ongoing crises going into cycle 3. I'll plan to solve this early in cycle 3. But with 2 ongoing, if I remove this and make this ongoing, then we're fine. But if I remove this and catastrophe this one, then it'll cost me 20 influence, but I can get rid of a corruption, which would be nice because I'm going to gain 1. So I mean, yeah, maybe let's take the agenda first. I want this face up might agenda. I want that. So I have to take this corruption, and I guess I'm going to place it here on my society track because I don't want to corrupt any of my sectors, and I don't want to corrupt any of my scoring agendas. So we replace the might agenda. So this is in hand, and yeah, it's just a matter of I've got some corruption. It wouldn't be bad to get rid of one with a catastrophe token. And you know what? I do have a good shot of completing both these safe havens now, so I'm not that afraid of taking a token. So all that being said, I'm going to use this effect to remove this crisis card, which was my intent all along. So I'm just following through on that, and that is all my actions now. So Heroic Innovation goes away, and the trade token goes back to the Galactic board, like that. And I don't have an agenda to slot. Fleet tokens are good. And so I just need to take care of this crisis. And I think I've established by now that I'm going to just take another catastrophe token. That's not so bad. So this goes away, and I can either remove a corruption or gain 5 resources. I'm going to remove, I suppose, this corruption for now is potentially going to advance. Oh man, I don't really care about that track though. I think I'll take this one, because I definitely want to slot this early, and I want to keep these clear, I think. So, okay, good with that. That was 5 turns in this cycle. Temptation, Reinforcement, Prosperity, Development, and Innovation. And I think the last 3 were Heroic. So let's go to the evaluation phase for cycle 3 now. That starts with my special ability, Activate 2 Fleet Power. That's cool. And then I've got 2 extra upkeep. We resolve the crisis board, and this is cycle 2, so at +1 Voidborn Fleet Power. So we've got +1 here, we've got 1 for this, and +1 there. So that's going to be 3 Voidborn Fleet Power on a skirmish. So if 3 Voidborn Fleet Power attack this sector, they lose 1 to the sector defense, and because of my improved deep space missiles and these 2 adjacent sectors with shipyards, they lose the other 2. So none of them make it in. It's the exact same thing over here. I've got 1 sector defense and at least 2, because this is max 2. I've actually got 4 adjacent sectors with shipyards. So there's 2 approach damage plus the 1 from the sector defense. So again, none of the 3 Voidborn fleet power even make it into skirmish. So I've defended the skirmish. Now we pay the economic track. That's going to be 1 material, 1 energy. And I do have a material. I go down to 12. And I've got an energy as well. I go from 3 down to 2. And now it's time to pay upkeep. And I've got, for my agendas, 2, 4, 6, another 2 for being House of Storin. So I'm at 8. And then 9 for these guilds. 10 for these installations, 11 for these guilds. So 11 upkeep. But with improved data refinery during evaluation phase, you may spend credits to satisfy 2 upkeep each. So I'm going to spend 5 credits. I go from 15 down to 10. That satisfied 10 upkeep, and the 11th will come from 1 food. I go from 4 down to 3. So my 11 upkeep is fully satisfied, and that will matter for this galactic event. We'll come back to that. But the next step is we check for safe havens. I do have a Pure sector with 6 population and at least 3 guilds, so I can build 1 level of safe haven, and that completes this safe haven here. So now I can remove a corruption, remove a harbinger, gain 3 resources, or deploy 2 fleet power. Oh, it'd be nice if I could deploy destroyers. Whoops. And I know it would be nice to get the 10 influence net 10 influence, by reducing the Voidborn's influence by 10 by removing a harbinger from the map. But I think I'm going to invade both those sectors, and I can just put them both on the crisis board. I'm not that worried about it. I think I would much rather get rid of this corruption off of my player mat, because I don't have a lot of corruption management. And I think that'll really help, because if I recall, the next galactic event is going to have me gain a corruption. So that's it for the safe haven check. We completed 1. That's great. Now we go to the galactic event. And we have an option. If we have 8 or more satisfied upkeep, and we had 11 upkeep all satisfied, then we can gain an agenda. That's certainly what I'll do. Or if we have 8 or more pure installations, we can gain 8 influence, which I'm sure I do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pure installations. I could gain 8 influence, but that's not that much. I would much rather have an agenda. That's going to score me better than 8 by the end of the game. And so I'm going to take my agenda based off, I think, of the actions that it provides me and the cards I'm likely to play. I think I would probably like to play Innovation again and get an invade action. And I don't think this one's going to score me that well. So I'm going to take 2 off the top, and let's take a look. So we've got Federal Authority and Commercial Syndicate. And my statecraft multiplier would be much, much better than my economic multiplier. Getting 2 or more pure sectors with 5 or more population. I've got a 6. I could probably get a 5. That's doable. It'd be much easier to do the left half of the bottom one, Commercial Syndicate, 4 pure sectors with 3 or more population. I've got 3 of those already. But yeah, that multiplier is where the difference is going to be, because right now my economic track would get me 0 points, and my statecraft track, as it stands at the moment, would get me 8, but I think I'm going to get that up to 16. So I'm going to take Federal Authority. So that goes into my hand, and this goes to the bottom of the deck. So I'm setting myself up to play. I know I want to play politics. I'll play innovation for sure. Get an invade action out of that. So that's a couple invade. I would like to invade 3 times next cycle, if not 4. And then I definitely want to do this. I'll probably pair this with progress to get a tech. Hopefully heroic progress comes out, because it's a bit better. I don't know if I would advance a track or gain a trade token. I might want the trade token. We'll see when we get there. But anyway, that's a galactic event. I got an agenda, and that is very helpful. And now it's time for scoring. So we start with our starting agenda. Gain 4 influence for each peer sector that has a shipyard. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 4 is 20. That's great. I'm at 89. Then I've got 1 influence for each pure engineers guild. I've got 2 of those. So 91, and then another 1 for each of these pure miners guilds, so that gets me to 93. -1 for each corruption on my house mat. There's none. Then I get from heavy industry 6 influence if I have at least 2 pure engineers guilds and at least 2 pure miners guilds. And there's the engineers guilds, there's the miners guilds, they're all pure. That's 6 influence. That gets me to 99. And 3 influence for each pure sector with the bankers guild. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then another that gets me to 111. Now, if I have 4 more techs, and I don't, I only have 3. That's really close. So that's too bad. And then that would be 4 influence. So I'll certainly have that next time. But then 5 influence for each pair of pure sectors. And sadly, again, I've got an odd number of pure sectors. I've got 5. So that's only 2 pairs. 2 times 5 is 10. So that gets me to 121. Not a stellar score, but pretty on track. I'm fine. And so now we can go into the preparation phase, and maybe I'll just sort of talk strategy as I do the preparation phase. So I grab 3 more heroic focus cards and place them out here. So we've got production. That's always a really nice one for cycle 3, especially if you've built a lot of guilds, because it's got this multiplier, 3 influence for each pure guild. I don't know if that'll be worth it this time, but Heroic Progress, that's the one I was hoping for. And then we've got Leadership. So the one we did not see was Temptation this game. That's okay. And we'll get rid of a trade token. That goes away. And then to the alert deck, we need 1, 2, 3, 4 level 2 situation cards and 1 of the 3 remaining war cards for this difficulty. They're all shuffled in. So we do this. That means we know, if we've been tracking it, there are 6 level 2 alerts in here and 2 war cards. And that's it. So it's just going to be 2s and war. Shuffle it up a little bit so we don't know where the war cards are. We'll replace the Galactic event. We know what's coming. Oh, I've got to swap out the improved text as well. All right, that's shuffled. Let's get the text. Okay, and then the Galactic event, which we picked out, is Wind of Annihilation. We went with fewer turns, but better actions. So we can, I guess we can start resolving this. Take a corruption on your player mat if able, or your house mat. And I am able, so I'm going to put this back here on the society track. Then at the end of each player's first turn, they must resolve a skirmish with +1 Voidborn fleet power. Okay, and now each player can choose either advance a track and increase a pure population. That's great. Or deploy 3 fleet power. If I had destroyers, I might push out some destroyers right now, but I will increase a track and a pure population. So the track is going to be the statecraft track for sure. So this is going to go into tier 3. That means I need to deactivate 1 fleet power. And my reward is I gain a dominance agenda. Ooh, I didn't think about that. Maybe I would have grabbed something different instead of a dominance, but that's okay. I'm going to grab a dominance agenda and remove a corruption, which will be this one that I just gained. So that's handy. Might as well look at these two just to see what they are. We have got, Enlightened Nation and Mercantile Governance. I think Enlightened Nation would currently score me exactly what the one that I have in hand is going to score, Federal Authority. But Federal Authority has the potential to squeeze out 4 more. I don't know, kind of close on those. Mercantile Governance, I'm not stockpiling a lot of basic resources. I happen to have a lot of materials at the moment, but I don't really see that going up that much. So I guess I'm going to take Enlightened Nation because that's kind of close to my scoring possibilities or scoring potential with Federal Authority. So I'll keep them both in hand anyway. It doesn't hurt to have them. It gives me the option to play Temptation and get another invasion. Okay, I guess I need to take these cards back into hand. And now I can increase a pure population. And since I want 2 sectors with 5 or more pop, I guess I'm going to have this 3 go up to 4. Gets me a bit closer. And that will get me one more production on energy. So that gets something out of it anyway. If I had done this sector to get it to 3, this wouldn't have gone up at all. So at least my production on energy went up. So what do I want to do? I'm hopeful that if I can take this sector, I could throw down a shipyard and maybe get some destroyers and take out that rift. It'd be awesome to take out the rift. But then again, if I have several invades, I might try and take these 3. Or, that'd probably be good as those 3, not too tough to do. If I could get those and purify them, I could really rack up my score if I get some shipyards down. So realistically, how many invades might I be able to get? How many do I have access to? I've got politics. I would definitely like to play that. I've got conquest. And then I've got Temptation and Innovation and 2 Dominance agendas. And Temptation can copy Conquest. So potentially I can invade 5 times in 4 cards. I don't know if I can afford that or if I have the fleet power or anything, but that's kind of what I'm looking at. It's development and prosperity, however, that would let me put down more shipyards and remove corruption. That is interesting. What am I going to do? Oh, and leadership is out as well. That lets me copy. If I played leadership and copied conquest, I could theoretically play that with a dominance agenda too. I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 invasions in 5 turns, and there's 7 sectors left. I have not played in such a way that I could take them all, but that would be cool, wouldn't it? What I'm really trying to do is I'm trying to have a lot of pure sectors. I want each one to have a shipyard and ideally a bankers guild. That's really what I'm pushing for. And so I like this sector because not only can I take it and get a lot of points for glory, but it's got 2 reclaim tokens, so I've got a decent chance of putting some installations or guilds down. I'm looking at the Survivors Colony again because it's already pure, and the Voidborn won't attack it, so I don't need to dedicate a lot of fleet power to it. And it's got a sector defense, so if I take it, I will lose a fleet power, which then gives me something to redeploy, especially if I can get a shipyard down there. That would be helpful because a second shipyard here would help me take this sector with minimal force. It wouldn't really change the math on invading, but it would change the math on that sector being defendable because it would be adjacent to 2 shipyards. So I could take it with a smaller force and expect to keep it as well. So I might want to come here and then here. And I've still got a real easy path to taking that sector as well. I would just need to be able to purify it and put some installations and guilds down. And I don't know if I'll have the actions for that after doing that over here. But just kind of looking at the Voidborn scoring conditions and at the map and where I'm at, like I think I've already got the game in the bag. I'm not really worried about it. Like I hate to leave a rift on the map, but I don't know. Yeah, that'll knock down 30 points for the Voidborn, but I think I'd be better off just trying to maximize my own score with more pure sectors with bankers guilds and shipyards. And so one thing I might like to do is play progress and innovation as the first 2 cards, taking heroic progress, because that would allow me to gain 2 more techs that I could then use this cycle, like make use of them on the future cards. Like destroyers would be great, and I'm thinking tactical transports could be very useful as well, especially if I start with progress and innovation, gain destroyers and tactical transports. If I then play and I use innovation with an agenda to take this survivors colony, I could play conquest next, decrease that population using tactical transports with conquest to activate and deploy a destroyer here. And then it still gives me options to maybe use the destroyer to go this way more easily. Or I mean, it leaves the rift possibility still there. Like I don't know if I'm going to get enough use out of the destroyers. If I play the progress, what am I going to do with that too? Because heroic progress would be nice, but not right away because I would want to take advantage of that remove corruption, but I don't have any corruption to remove. I'd want to remove it from one of the new sectors that I take. And either of the techs that I'm trying to get allow me to deploy fleet power, and the cost of that is to deactivate a fleet power. So I won't have anything to deploy if I gain a tech doing that. And so in that sense, maybe decontamination chambers is helpful for corruption management. Cloning is good, but it's kind of late in the game to start with cloning now. Then again, I can grab cloning and then grab tactical transports, and that'll allow me to activate a fleet power and then deploy it. Yeah, I don't know that the destroyers are going to do much for me now. I might do cloning and tactical transports. So if I were to go that route, I still wouldn't want to play progress and remove corruption until I had corruption to remove. I could start with innovation with an agenda, gain cloning, gain another agenda. I don't think I need to do this top part. It'd be 4 influence and then another 3 from overproducing credits, but I don't think I would overproduce science. I'm at 7, I would produce 5, so that wouldn't get me there. So actually what I might do is I might play innovation with an agenda, invade here, grab cloning, and another agenda. I don't know what it would be. Oh, a support agenda would be great because then I could play conquest, invade this sector, and put an installation down. That is very handy. And then with that agenda, I could activate a fleet power, put down another installation. So I can definitely get 2 shipyards here. We'll see what those reclaim tokens are first, but I could do that and then that. And then one of these actions, I don't really care. And then if I play Heroic Progress at that point, I can gain tactical transports and remove the corruption from this sector and take either of the other 2 actions I think are fine. And Heroic Progress would pair with this agenda. So I might move my society track up to gain a population. I don't know if it matters though. Maybe the guild would be better at that point, the econ track. Rather than the trade token. I think that's fine. But then I could do politics after that and I could definitely invade that sector, potentially this one. We would just have to see. I don't think I'll be able to get the rift because I'm not going destroyers, but that's okay. Ooh, I just remembered that when I increase one of these tracks, if I do population, it'll trigger cloning. And that could activate another fleet power. That could be important. But I'll play politics, I'll invade something, and I'll advance this track to get up here and score a bunch. And then I'll still have 1 card left to play. I don't think it's going to be Temptation. I don't like ending with Temptation and gaining Corruption. But if I just take, doing all that, I'll take these 2 sectors. They'll both be pure and 1 other sector. So I'll have 8 sectors. I'll need to purify that last sector somehow. So with what I have left, I could do that with production or heroic production, which could score me pretty decently. I need to have a trade token for that top action though. But production or heroic production is an option, not reinforcement. My special prosperity and development are both options as well. This would have me remove an installation, but I think I've got an extra sector defense, so that would be okay. To put a guild down, I could put a banker's guild, remove a corruption. Probably, oh, and that build an installation, advanced econ as well. It might be my special prosperity card. I think that's most likely, but I will wait till I get to that point to figure it out. So I'll get rid of this. So I think that's sort of what I'm going to do. I'm going to be trying, I haven't been paying attention. What's going to happen to that safe haven there? I'll get to tier 4. I'll have this. Will I double produce, overproduce anywhere? I don't think so. Depending on what happens, I may or may not finish that safe haven. I don't know. But if I do, it's gonna require 3 fleet power, which is what I have here on my player mat. So that means I need to control the stuff I want to control with just the fleet power that's out here. I'm gonna have to spread it out and be thoughtful about that. So okay, I think that's it for planning. We've completed the Galactic event. So let's start with the first turn of cycle 3. Reveal the alert card, and it's a war card. So the Voidborn side, here I can probably do this. Voidborn side, we're going to resolve the crisis board, and during the skirmish, they will have +1 salvo absorption. I think I'll be fine there, because they're only going to skirmish right now at 1, and I've got plenty of approach damage, so they'll never make it to the salvo step. And so I'm starting with innovation, and I do want to pair it with an agenda. I've got 2 options. I was thinking federal authority for sure, but this is going to get up to tier 4, so that's going to be 4 times 4 is 16, and if I get 1 more population in this sector, if I get it to 5, or if I get this pure one up to 5 somehow, then that would be 20 total. I would score 20 off this card. This card, 4 already for having any pure track at tier 3 or higher, so I've got 4 plus a multiplier of 3 for each pure sector at 3 population. So right now it's 1, 2, 3, and I think I can get 4 or 5. 5 times 3 is 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So this one would be 1 less. Wait a minute though. My plan is to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 times 3 is 18. Plus 4 is 22. So I think this one is actually the one I want to get in play, not federal authority. So I'm going to start by pairing innovation and enlightened nation. We're gonna resolve the crisis board, and then at the end of each player's first turn, we're also going to skirmish at +1 Voidborn fleet power. So we're gonna skirmish a couple times, but I think I'm gonna be all right. So let's start with the middle action. Spend 2 science. I go from 7 down to 5, and I can gain a tech. And I've decided I'm gonna gain cloning. That's the way this is gonna go. That is my 4th tech for this technological singularity slotted agenda, so that's good. So now I can gain 1 credit or activate a fleet power. I'll activate a fleet power, and When I increase a pure population, I can also gain a credit or improve or activate a fleet power rather. And this one had no influence, right? Yeah, this was the no influence version. Okay, I got a tech. Now I'm going to gain an agenda. So that costs 1 food. I go from 3 to 2, an energy from 2 to 1, and a material from 12 to 11. And gain an agenda of any type. I'm going to take a support agenda. I definitely don't want this one. I like the one I have. This will not score as good as this, but let's just take a look at the next two to see. And I don't think either of these are really playing to my strengths, but the Salvation Project would score better than Industrial Conglomerate, so that's the one that I'm going to keep on the off chance that I will slot it instead of the one that I currently have. But I don't think there's a high likelihood of that happening. So I've done this, I've done this. Now I'm going to take my agenda action and invade, and I will invade this sector here, this survivor colony, and because I have hyperdrive, I may regroup first, and I'm going to need another fleet token for that. I'm going to take 1 fleet power out of this sector and regroup over to here, and now I will invade into this sector, and I will invade with 2 fleet power. So I'm going to lose 1 as approach damage to that sector defense, so that comes back, and that's it. Now I've got the only fleet power in the sector, so I win the combat. I score my glory 2, 4, 6, 7. I don't have a glory token on that sector, but I go from 121 to 128. And when you conquer this sector, activate a fleet power. That's great. And gain 2 food. So I go from 2 food to 4. And now I have a 3 population sector with a farmer's guild. So I have some food production with a yield of 2. That's fine. But at least I've got another pure sector now. The Voidborn can't attack it, so I don't have to do anything here anymore. Just park this fleet power here, just like the asteroid belt. I've got a pure sector, and ideally I'm going to get a shipyard and a banker's guild down there. So now we need to do all this stuff. I don't have any sectors with more than 2 fleet tokens. I don't have trade token to put back on the Galactic board. I am going to slot this agenda. I don't have a dominance agenda yet, so now I've got my starting agenda, a support agenda, a wealth agenda, and a dominance agenda. And so now we have step 4 here. I need to take care of this ongoing war card. So the Voidborn are going to skirmish me at 0 plus 1. They're going to skirmish me at 1 fleet power, and they have 1 salvo absorb. They can't attack here. 1 fleet power coming in here or here, there's too much approach damage, doesn't make it through, and they won't attack here. And those are the only valid sectors. These 2 aren't adjacent. Well, that's my home sector. This one's not adjacent to a Voidborn sector. So that's it. So that doesn't really have any effect. The war card can be discarded. Oh, that's not true. I have to resolve the economic track as well. So that's going to cost me 1 energy. That goes to 0, and 1 material. That goes from 11 to 10. Now this can be discarded, and now it's the end of my turn. At the end of each player's first turn, they must resolve a skirmish at +1 Voidborn fleet power. So we're going to skirmish one more time at 1, 2 this time. Again, these are the only valid sectors. They each have a sector defense, so that leaves 1 Voidborn fleet power left, and with my improved deep space missiles, they're each going to do 2 more approach damage to that 1 remaining fleet power, so it doesn't get through. So I've resolved that skirmish as well. Now we can go to turn number 2. It is a level 2. So let's take a look at the crisis. It is a military crisis. This is our world. After you invade, have a pure sector with 3 or more fleet power in it. Otherwise, you can corrupt the support agenda offer and spend 2 energy. Not too worried about this one. I wish I had it last turn, though, because I just completed an invasion and I have a pure sector with 3 fleet power in it. And I do intend to invade this time, but I don't think that's going to be true at the end of this turn. But it might, depending on the order I do things. Not this turn, but if I got tactical transports before I play Conquest, but I wanted to play Conquest first so that when I play Progress, I can remove a corruption. Can I move politics up by chance to do politics and then progress and then conquest? Would that work? So then I can invade, do that. Oh, I want to do that later because I'll have more installations. Ooh, that's a pickle. And I also don't want to play conquest with this agenda right now because I have no fleet power to activate, and I'm going to want to do that. Yeah, I might swap these 2. What kind of effect will that have if I swap politics and conquest? I could take that sector. I'll have to move other fleet power in. Advance this. I'll have to deactivate a couple. Deactivate another. I think this will work. I hope this will work. I'm going to play politics. I'm still not going to accomplish this time, but I will accomplish it later, and I think that's fine. So I'm going to take these two actions then, and yeah, I'm just not going to score as well for this top one as I would have if I played it later, but I'll start with the middle action so that I'm going to invade here, and hopefully one or both of those reclaim tokens will give me installations that can score. Oh, but this won't be a pure sector anyway, so it doesn't matter. Fine. We'll still start with the invasion. I'm going to spend, it costs 2 energy and a credit. I have no energy, so I'm going to spend 3 credits. I go from 10 down to 7. And first I'll improve a glory token. I'll swap out a 2 for a 3, like so. And then I will invade. I'm going to invade this sector. With deep space missiles, I've got an adjacent shipyard, so that's going to take out this one fleet power with approach damage. So there is a sector defense there. So I'm going to lose 1 on the way in, and then I just need to have anyone left. So using hyperdrive, I will regroup this to here and then invade with 2 fleet power from here. So here's another fleet token. 2 come in. I lose 1 to the sector defense, and now combat is over. So this goes away. I gain this glory token, so 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 glory I score. That gets me to 140 from 128. And there's a Harbinger I need to deal with, and 2 reclaim tokens. So again, these are just 3D printed blanks from Brain Bucket Games. Let's go to the draw bag and pull out 2 reclaim tokens. Let's see, that looks like, ooh, good stuff. So the 1 will get me either a Farmer's Guild or 1 resource of any type, and I am actually not seeing any way in which that guild will benefit me, so I'm just going to take the resource. I'm going to take 1 credit. I'd rather have a credit than a Farmer's Guild right now, but the other one is activate a fleet power or deploy a fleet power to that combat sector, and I will do that. I will send a fleet power back out to here. I like that quite a bit. So I didn't get an installation down, but that's okay. There's still time for that. Now this Harbinger's got to go somewhere. That's going to go down here on the economic track. And now I've completed an invasion, but I don't have a pure sector with 3 or more fleet power. That's too bad. So I don't know what I'm going to do with that yet. But now I have another action to take, and I'm going to take this top action on politics. So I'm going to spend 1 science. I go from 5 to 4, and I can advance my statecraft track. I have to deactivate 2 fleet power to do that. So this advances, and now I gain 2 influence for each pure installation I have. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 times 2. So 22 influence is still not bad. So I go from 140 to 162. So I mean, that by itself took care of one of the catastrophe tokens. So that's great. And now I'm reached tier 4 with tier 4 with a civilization track, so I can build 1 level of safe haven, and I guess I might as well. I still don't know if I'm going to complete it though. Like, it might not be worth it. I think I might rather just have the fleet power. And so, you know what? Yeah, I'm actually going to bring this back. I'm not gonna work on that safe haven at all. I don't care. It's fine. So that's all of my actions for politics. I need to figure out what I'm gonna do with this card. I'll probably take the immediate penalty because I don't think I'm gonna resolve it later, and I don't want this on my military track, for example, on the next turn and then draw a war card because this sector is vulnerable in the meantime. So okay, we will put a corruption on the support agenda offer and spend 2 energy. And sadly, I don't have 2 energy, so I got to spend 2 credits, which hurts a lot more. I would rather be spending the energy because I need the credits for my upkeep. But this goes away now. And that was the end of turn 2. We draw the next alert card. Oh, and I need to discard a glory token as well. I've got too many, so I'm going to discard the 1, of course. I've got a level 2 alert. Now we draw a level 2 crisis. It's a general crisis, another step forward. Gain a basic tech while already having 1 or more improved techs. I might do that. I think that was my plan. Or you can skirmish. I can skirmish pretty easily too. So either way, this one's a big fat nothing. I'm not worried about it in the least. And I'm trying to figure out now what I want to do. I'm thinking maybe progress, conquest, and development, because development would let me get down more bankers guilds and shipyards for scoring purposes, but I kind of want all 3 of those actions. None of these will let me get an agenda, right? Heroic progress and progress have no agenda. Conquest won't let me get an agenda, so I'm probably not getting any new agendas. I'd like to play conquest, pair it with the salvation project. I would like to do that really for the actions and just to make, not just, but to make use of tactical transports as well to get another fleet power down on the map. So that only works if I have tactical transports, which I would get through progress. I was trying to decide if I really want to play heroic progress or not, because I would play it, deactivate a fleet power, gain tactical transports, remove that corruption, which is a big deal. Tactical transports could allow me to, man, there's too many options. Because I would pair progress with this agenda, which lets me advance my lowest track. If I increase the population, that activates the fleet power through cloning. But if I build a guild, that's 1 less guild I need to build later to get another bankers guild down. Let's say that I build the guild. I could get the trade token too, and then have 3 actions on development, which would also be great. But then I do neither of those things. But this can remove a corruption at the end, which I might need. Let's say that I build a guild. Throw a banker's guild here where it's safe. And now I've advanced my econ track, and then deactivated fleet power. Go down here. So I've got 3 inactive and 1 active. Remove the corruption from here. Gain tactical transports, which lets me deploy my 1 remaining fleet power. Or increase a population to activate another fleet power. So I'd be back at 2 active again. Let's say I did that. So this could get up to like 5, right? Then, or I guess that could go up to 5 would be better. In the same sector. Yeah, that's fine. That can go to 5. I could put a fleet power there. Then I could take this action, deploy, and I would have 1 fleet power left to deploy, I don't know, here, I guess. Then regroup, and then I can remove this crisis, which is fine. I can handle this. Oh, this will handle itself if I get tactical transports. And then on the next turn, I would want to play Conquest. Activate a fleet power, that would still work. Build 2 installations after an invasion, so I'd probably go up there. Build a couple installations. I would have 1, or I'd probably go this way, but I'd have 1 corrupted sector. And I'd probably do the bottom action to get a bunch of credits so I can pay my upkeep. And then if I play development, then I could take 2 actions. I won't have a trade token. I can remove the corruption and put down probably a shipyard rather than a banker's guild. And I won't be able to get an agenda along the way, so I can't play an agenda with development to get an extra guild. So I'd be playing these 2. I won't play this one, and that's okay. And then out of these, I've got to figure out along the way, are either of these going to score, well, will this score better than this? And will this score better than anything? Like, I need to figure out if I'm going to slot them. So I think this is the plan now. I've swapped out prosperity for development, so I think I'll score better. You can both put an installation down. Advance econ again. Oh, could get me an agenda, but that would be the last turn of the game. I wouldn't be able to play the agenda. And that is predicated on doing progress first. And if I get an agenda for development using prosperity, it means I'm not playing conquest, and that's no good. This will let me put a guild down, but I have to remove an installation. I don't think that's worth it, and I don't need that agenda. So yeah, development's better than prosperity now. I want to do everything, and I can't do it all, and that's okay. I guess the other option is I could. Well, I've kind of given up on this. I just want to get more fleet power on the map because this, if I slot it, this scores 2 influence for every pure fleet power on the map. So I'd want to get everything down. I think I figured out how to get like 3 down. I don't know if I'll have an active or inactive at that point. But development will let me put 2 more on the map as long as they're active on the asteroid belt. And that could be up to 4 influence if I keep that. So that's a factor. All right. I don't know if any of that made sense or if you can follow, but it sort of made sense to me, and I think I've talked myself into that plan. So I'm playing progress to take heroic progress, pairing it with this agenda. And sadly, I've already forgotten what my plan was for this agenda card. I don't think it was a trade token. I think I ran that all as if I was advancing on the econ track rather than society, but man, I do not remember. Let's start with something else. How about that? Because I don't think the order of operations mattered. I think I'll start with the middle action. That's going to cost 1 food. So go from 4 to 3 and deactivate 1 fleet power. So I do that. I can take a tech and remove a corruption. Let's remove this corruption. So that's very good. And then take tactical transports. And so that will get me 4 influence. I go from 162 to 166. And I can increase a peer population or deploy a fleet power. And I think I want to deploy this 1 active fleet power. That's where it's going. Now, when I play Prosperity, I can I can recall a fleet power to increase a peer population in the same sector. Or when I play Conquest, and this is what I plan to do, I may decrease a non-home peer population to activate and or deploy in the same sector. Okay, so this is done. This action's done. And I wanted to take the bottom action, and I thought I'd be able to deploy. So if I am going to deploy, I need to take this action, advance, increase a peer population, use cloning to activate. So, okay, I'm going to do my agenda action. I'm going to advance on society, increase a peer population, might as well be here. So that goes to 5. So my credit production's already maxed, but energy production goes up 1 level, level 9, yield of 6. And because of cloning, I increased a peer population, I can activate a fleet power. Now I'll take this action. The cost is to spend a glory token, so I'll get rid of a 2. So I've paid the cost, but before I forget, I did gain a basic tech while already having improved techs, so this crisis card goes away. Okay, so taking the bottom action, I can deploy 1 fleet power. So I'm going to take this and deploy it to here. And I can regroup. I don't have any need to do that. And I can remove 1 economic or general crisis. So that's going to be this ongoing crisis. It goes away. And that is it for heroic progress. So I need to decide now, am I slotting this agenda? So I got to add up everything because this is the might agenda and I don't have a might. So it could replace any one of these 3. Heavy industry right now, it's scoring me 6 influence for my engineers and miners guilds. I don't expect that to change. And then 3 for each peer sector with a bankers guild. So that's right now 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 12 plus 6 is 18. I expect with the actions I've got left, I will get 1 more bankers guild down. So that'll be 21. So this is likely to be 21. If I have technological singularity, I score 4 for the techs, and then 5 for each pair of peer sectors, which I expect to be 2, 4, 6, this plus another, maybe that one. So 8 peer sectors, so that's 4 pairs. That would be 24 influence for this. I've got 21, 24, and this one would be, I score 4 for this half, and then 3 for each peer sector with 3 or more population. So I expect that to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sectors times 3 is 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So a little bit better than this. So heavy industry is the one that might go away, believe it or not. Which if it does, then I've got less of a need to put down bankers guilds. So that'll change whether or not I play development maybe. But this one, 5 influence if I've got 3 or more sector defenses that are pure, and I do, and I don't expect that'll change. So that's 5. And then 2 for each fleet power in a pure sector, which I think is going to be all of the ones I have down plus these two by the end. So I've got 14 fleet power total. 2 are here, so that's 12 times 2 is 24, plus 5 is 29. So much to my surprise, I'm going to replace heavy industry with safeguard policy, even though this has been like a guiding star for the whole game. But there you go. That's how it goes sometimes. So heroic progress goes away. This alert card goes away. We're getting to the end. 2 turns left. We've got another level 2 crisis coming, and it is a general crisis fatal experiment. After resolving an innovation focus, choose to also remove a non-home scientist guild. Otherwise, we can consume the leftmost improved tech, which I think I will do. Because I'm not playing innovation, I don't have any scientist guilds, and I don't intend on getting that tech, and I don't have any more unlocked improved techs anyway, so... and if I make it ongoing, it's 5 influence for the Voidborn at the end of the game. A consume tech is 5 influence for the Voidborn at the end of the game. But if it's ongoing, I'm also going to incur greater penalty. So I might as well just take the 5 influence penalty for the Voidborn without incurring additional penalties on the crisis board here. So let's play the next card, and it will be my special conquest card. I'll pair it with this agenda. And I'll start with the agenda action, I guess. Let's activate a fleet power, and I can build an installation, and I want that installation here. I thought about putting it here because that would help me attack, but I don't really see myself attacking from this area. I think I'm going to go up that way, get the Harbinger off the map. That's fine. And so this shipyard will help defend this sector, and this sector is, of course, protected from being skirmished against, so I'm not going to lose it so long as I don't abandon it. So that'll be nice to net me 4 influence at the end. And now I can take 2 actions off here. I'm going to start with neither of these because I've got a couple of techs that are going to trigger as well. With hyperdrive, when you do conquest focus, you can produce energy. I keep forgetting that. So let's do that. I'm at 0. My yield is 6. So now I've got 6 energy. That's nice. And when I play Conquest Focus, I can decrease a non-home pure population to activate and deploy fleet power in the same sector. So let's choose this sector. I'm going to go from 2 population to 1, and now I can activate and deploy to that sector. Great. If we track my credit production, I'm still at 6, plus 5 is 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 13 is the max, so I don't really need to adjust my dial for that either. So those are my triggers up here. Now I will take this top action on Conquest, spend 3 energy. I've got 6 energy now, so I go down to 3. I don't have to use any credits. I like that. I can invade and I can build an installation. So I am going to invade this sector up here, and I'm going to invade... I guess I might as well bring this fleet power in because of hyperdrive. I can regroup first. So here's another fleet token. And I'm going to invade with 3 fleet power. And I have 2 adjacent sectors with shipyards. So with deep space missiles, that's going to do 2 approach damage. And now I have the initiative. I fire first. Combat's over. Let's start with glory. 4 and 4 is 8, 9, 10, 11. So go from 166 to 177. And gain a bounty token. This will probably be just influence at this point. We'll see what it says, though. So this bounty token is an energy and a material or 1 influence. And yeah, I'm going with the influence now. 178. Because I've got plenty of resources. And get rid of this token. And now it's just this Harbinger to deal with. And I'm putting that on the economic track now because things have evolved. So as it turns out, I've invaded and I have a pure sector with 3 fleet power in it. But that crisis card that I was trying to solve is long gone. So now the other part of this action, I can build an installation. And that'll definitely be a shipyard. It could be here or it could be there. It doesn't really make any difference. So I'm going to go here. Actually, it does make a difference for what I'm going to do next. So I'm fine with that. I'm going to take this bottom action. I'm going to spend 1 science. I go from 4 to 3. And now I gain 1 credit and 1 influence for each pure uh, sector with at least 1 installation. So by placing this here, this sector counts. If I'd placed it there, that's not a pure sector, so it wouldn't have counted. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pure sectors with installations. So I get 7 credits. I go from 6 to 13, and I get 7 influence as well. So I go from 178 to 185. Nice. Okay, and that'll definitely take care of my upkeep. Do I want to slot this? I don't think so. I get 7 influence for this one if I have 0 corrupted sectors, which I believe will be the case, and then 4 influence for each pure sector with no empty guild slots. And that's only likely to be these two. I could force it on that sector as well. So, best case scenario, this is going to be 12 plus 7, 19. That's not going to score as much as any of these. So, this is not going to be slotted. I didn't expect it to be. I just wanted the action. Goes back to here. And now I have to do something with this crisis card. And I'm just going to take the penalty. I'll consume the leftmost improved tech. So the Voidborn have consumed targeting. And we've got one more turn. Let's draw the alert card. It is the other war card. Oh no, and this is a terrible one at the end. Hate it. so resolve the crisis board, and if you successfully defend the skirmish, gain a corruption. That is rude, but we'll be fine. I think I'm going to play development because that would allow me to deploy this fleet power to the asteroid belt, and I could. Oh, actually, I could do this. I could remove the corruption from that sector. I could recall a fleet power from that sector to build a guild and an installation. I guess it would be a miners or engineers guild, just to get 1 influence out of it. It's 1 more point, might as well. And then when I have two active fleet power, then deploy to the asteroid belt so I can get them both back out. That's not a bad thing. The other option is kind of to play prosperity, which will do similar things like spend a food and recall a fleet power to build an installation and advance my econ track, which gets me a guild. So it's very similar to this action, except I have more flexibility with where I place the guild and the installation, and this costs me 1 more food. But then the second action, this would remove a non-home installation to build a guild in that sector. So I could do that like down here, for example. That'll make my upkeep go down, get me another guild. Not that dissimilar to what was going on over here. I guess it'd get me 1 more guild, so 1 more influence. And then remove a corruption, which I still need to do. But then I wouldn't be able to deploy my 2 fleet power. So that would cost me how much? 4 influence. Instead, I would prosperity can trigger these 2 things. I could build another shipyard, but that wouldn't get me any influence because I would have a shipyard in every pure sector at that point. Or I could recall another fleet power to increase the pure population in that sector. So then I'd be 6 less influence, but 1 more population, which could get me 3 more influence. So that doesn't offset. So yeah, it'd be just a little bit less efficient to play prosperity. Oh, but I guess one last option would be I could take leadership, and I could, for example, remove a corruption and copy this action on conquest. I could take another sector, put an installation in that sector, like that sector up there, for example. I could get up there, purify it. This one wouldn't be pure. Or I suppose I could more easily take this one, put a shipyard down, purify it, and then I don't know. I don't know that either of those actions are really that helpful. If I could discard the war card, I would do that, but that's not what that's saying. I don't really have a need to discard any of these harbingers. It's not that big a deal. If I did have 1 fleet power on that safe haven, then I could take that action, put another one down, and then during the evaluation phase, put a third one down and complete the safe haven. But that's going to pull fleet power off the map too, and it'd be better to complete the safe haven, but that's not going to happen at this point. So, okay, no leadership. I'm just going to stick with development. Interestingly, though, I also could have copied from development, but I don't think that's the way to go. I think I'm just going to do these 2 actions on development and be done. So let's start with the bottom action. I'm going to spend 1 science. I go from 3 down to 2, and I can remove a corruption. So that's my last corrupted sector. And then I'm going to take the middle action, recall a fleet power from that sector to build a guild and an installation there. So that comes back. I'm going to put down a shipyard and an engineer's guild. Engineers versus miners really didn't matter. So energy production goes up 3 times. So that's at level 12, yield of 12. That's very high. If I had another card to play, it'd probably be production. I would be able to do some cool stuff there. But it doesn't matter. I've taken these 2 actions, and then because I'm playing development, I can use the special ability of Asteroid Belt to deploy 2 fleet power there. I have 2 active fleet power, so let's get them on the map. And that is it for my action. So now I need to resolve this war card. So we're going to skirmish at just 1. Anywhere that's going to happen, I'm not going to take any damage. It'll be approach damage. So we'll win. So for successfully defending, I need to take a corruption, and I'll put that here on my society track. And then I need to pay the economic cost. That's going to be a material. Go from 10 to 9. An energy. Go from 3 to 2. A science. Go from 2 to 1. And that is it for the war card. So we are in the final evaluation phase now. If I had 2 fleet power, I could activate them, but I don't have any left. So we're going to resolve the crisis board, and I'm going to skirmish at 1, 2, plus 1 is 3. So if 3 fleet power come in here, these 2 adjacent sectors with shipyards with my deep space missiles will each fire. There will only be 1 left. I have initiative. Combat's over. Here, if they come in with 3, they lose 1 to that sector defense and 1 to each of a maximum of 2 of the 4 adjacent shipyards, so none of them get past the approach step. And then the only other valid sector is this one. If 3 come here, there are 2 adjacent shipyards that both fire, so only 1 remains. I have the initiative, and I win that combat as well. So that is it for skirmishes. I need to pay the economic row again, so that's 1 more material. I'm at 8. 1 more energy is at 1, and 1 more science is at 0. So I played that okay. Now we check for safe havens, and I could build 1 level of safe haven, but I have no inactive fleet power. I don't have any active to deactivate, so I could recall 1 to build 1 level of safe haven. I'm not going to do that. It's not beneficial at this point. Galactic events, I can either gain influence based on population, and that's 6 influence for each peer sector with 6 pop, 3 influence for each peer sector with 5 pop, and 1 influence for each peer sector with 4 pop. So that would get me 6, 11, 12. Otherwise, I can gain 5 influence for each peer sector past the first 4 peer sectors. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 peer sectors. We ignore 4. I've got 4 left. That would get me 20. I will take 20. So we go from 185, 195 to 05. And now it's time to score my agendas. So each peer sector with a shipyard is with 4 influence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's all of them. They're all pure. They all have shipyards. So 8 times 4 is 32. So that gets me to 207, 17, 27, 37. Cool. Then 1 influence for each pure Engineers Guild or Miners Guild. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 137 to 140, or I'm sorry, to 242. Minus 1 for each corruption on my house mat. That's 1, so I'm at 241. 5 influence if I have 3 or more sector defenses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pure sector defenses. Yeah, I've got plenty, so that gets me to 246. 2 influence for each pure fleet power on the map, and that is going to be 12 fleet power. Times 2 is 24. Wow, so that gets me to 250, 60, 70. That's pretty good. Now, if I have 4 technology cards and I've got 5, then I get 4 influence, so I'm at 274. I get 5 influence for each pair of pure sectors. We've established I have 8 pure sectors, so that's 5, 10, 15, 20 again. 294. Then if I have at least 1 pure civilization track tier 3 or higher, I do. That's 4 influence, so that's 298. And then 3 influence for each pure sector with 3 or more population. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So everything but this sector and the asteroid belt. So 6 times 3 is 18. So what is that going to be? 306, 316. 316 is my final score for the narrator with House of Storin. Let's add up the Voidborn score now. So in this video, we played on easy. Voidborn start at 60, and they get 30 for the open rift, so they're at 90. 20 for one leftover safe haven, so that is going to be 110. 40, 20 each for these two catastrophe tokens, so that's up to 150. 10 for any harbingers on the map, there's none. 5 for the one consumed tech, we're at 155. And I have no ongoing crises. 3 for that fallen house, 158. 2 for each corruption anywhere in the game. So how many corruption? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Times 2 is 10. That's 168. And then 1 for each population in Voidborn sectors. Well, they've only got 2 sectors with population. That's 5, and 3 is another 8. 5, 4, that's, oops. That was the wrong dial. 8, 7, 6. Well, that's 176. Let me set that down and add it up again just to make sure. Yeah, 176. That's it. So I hope, if nothing else, hopefully it's demonstrated that, as much as I like to close rifts and complete safe havens, like sometimes it's better to just do other stuff. Voidborn ended up at 176. I think that's somewhere around maybe a little bit higher than where my score was at the end of cycle 2. I think I was somewhere between 120 and like 145. So I could have focused on bringing their score down more, but I was much better off focusing on bringing my score up and looking at what my agendas were and trying to play towards them. Unfortunately, I did spend a lot of time putting on bankers guilds, which I did not end up keeping that agenda until the end, but I don't think it hurt me. Oh, but funny me, I forgot the whole upkeep step, didn't I? Let me go ahead and do that. I've got enough upkeep, but 2, 4, 6, 8 from my agendas, 9, 10, 11 from these guilds, 12 from those installations, 13 from those guilds. So I've got 13 upkeep I need to pay, and because of data refinery, my credits do 2 each, so I can pay 6 credits. I'm at 13. 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, and then I owe 1 more. I've got 3 food. I'll go down to 2 food. None of that affects anything that scored, but just to make sure I pay my upkeep too. So yeah, again, if you are newer to Voidfall, hopefully I've demonstrated the importance of focusing. You do need to get the Voidborn score down, no doubt about it, but you need to get your score up at a certain point. There's a point in the game where it flips, and you need to you need to know what you're scoring for and push that more than you focus on pushing down the Voidborn score. The other thing is, I hope I've demonstrated, I was a little bit casual about taking catastrophe tokens, and that is a good way to approach it. The earlier you can take them, the better. Like, my advice would be, at the end of cycle, do not go all the way through cycle 1 without taking one, because the benefit is huge. And so just pick a crisis that comes up that's, even if it's just mildly inconvenient. If it takes you out of your way, that's the one. Use a catastrophe token. Don't even think twice about it. It's fine. And then you'll probably want another one somewhere in cycle 2 or 3, but that one you might want to save until something is like looking a bit more dire, really unhelpful, or if you think the bonus would be really worth it. I think I used it to get rid of a corruption right before the evaluation phase. I found that to be worth it. The third one you don't really want to take unless you need it, because you might think you need it, and then you take it, and then you really need it, and then you're out of luck. So, I've never lost a game by having to take too many catastrophe tokens, but 2 seems to be the right number, and you can take that third if you've really got to, but just know that now you don't have a safety net anymore. But influence-wise, that really did not. It helped me a lot more than it hurt me. And also, I think it was good to show not completing that safe haven. Again, I could have completed it using leadership, but it was just much easier to do the things I wanted to do for scoring by just abandoning when I had the ability to place a fleet cube on that safe haven and just say, you know what, I'm not going to worry about it. It's not that big a deal. 20 influence is not that big a deal. Because had I gone for that, I would have had 3 less fleet power, and I think it would have been much more difficult for me to get those last 2 sectors, especially that one, with 3 less fleet power on the map. I would have been spread way thinner. And I kind of needed everything that I had out here to survive those skirmishes at the end and that final evaluation war. And House of Storin can be tricky, especially with the extra upkeep. But again, hopefully I've showed that even though I did lose, I think 3 influence in cycle 1, like I wasn't quite able to pay all my upkeep, but that is not disastrous. And the 6, it was only happened twice, going into cycle 2 and into cycle 3. The 4 fleet power activation was more than worth the 3 influence I spent by not being able to pay the upkeep one time at the end of cycle 1. But the challenges with this house are always going to be agendas and activating fleet power outside of this ability, because losing your ability to gain any agenda on conquest and then having your ability to gain agendas on prosperity be reduced, that is very noticeable and can kind of box you in. So you've got to be conscious about what agendas you take and when you play them and what you slot, and whatever gets slotted, you've got to make sure you play towards it. Also, I know this video is going to be on the longer side because I did so much talking and strategizing out loud, but the feedback has generally been that is very helpful, and that's what viewers of this channel would like to see. So hopefully I'm giving you what you want. As always, if you think I've made any mistakes, or if you have any questions, or if you just want to talk about anything in this video or Voidfall at all, let me know down in the comments. I'd be happy to talk to you there. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, share it with somebody else. Don't forget, I've got a huge Voidfall playlist that is full of rules videos and other playthroughs. I've been through every scenario on the solo compendium at least twice. I think I've played through them all on normal and hard mode, and I'm kind of going back now on easy with just like lots of narration and explanation, just to help people who are still learning the game or want to get into it, or perhaps have interest in the last Novar campaign, which I designed and wrote. So it is never too early to get your Voidfall chops ready for that. But that's all I've got this time. I had a great time playing. I hope you enjoyed watching. Again, love to talk to you in the comments if you've got anything you want to say, but thank you for watching Table for One, and I will see you in the next video.